watching Rogers TV.
Is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number one for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It is Friday, March 24th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa, under a special weather statement, it is -1. In Smiths Falls, it is 1. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. The e-scooter are back on for another year. City News reporter Chris Curry has the details.
They'll be back in mid-May for a 4th year after last year's pilot went much better than the first 2 seasons due to a shorter time frame, less scooters, and more restrictions. Here's how Transportation Committee Chair Tim Tierney described them.
The previous scooter program, I refer to them as the dumb scooters. Last year was the smart scooters.
Members were satisfied with the continued use of the updated technology, which geo-fenced in an area of the city, but that can now start to expand outwards. Also at committee, new patio rules go to council, which include a permanent 2 a.m. closing time and business owners paying 50% of permit fees. Chris Curry, City News.
And with the weather forecast for Ottawa and the Valley, here is City News weather specialist John Wilson.
I'm City News weather specialist John Wilson. Cloud with sunny periods this afternoon, and the guaranteed high is 3. But our attention turns to tomorrow with a special weather statement and snow coming with a fairly strong disturbance roaring through the Great Lakes. This will have snow in front of it. We'll get 5 to 7 centimeters. I think the Gatineaus get 10 tomorrow, and 1 degree with a strong south wind, 60 gusting maybe up to 80 clicks an hour. Sunday quiets down with showers or flurries or both, and 4. Monday sunny and 5. Today's guaranteed high 3.
City News time is 10:03. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will hold a welcoming ceremony on Parliament Hill this morning for U.S. President Joe Biden. The two leaders will sit down for a meeting. Then Biden will meet with federal cabinet ministers before delivering a speech in the House of Commons shortly before 2 p.m. Prime Minister Trudeau and President Biden's afternoon news conference is expected to touch on a wide range of topics from immigration to green energy to the war in Ukraine and the situation in Haiti. Now, this evening, President Biden and his wife, Jill, will join the Prime Minister and his wife, Sophie, another high-profile guest at the Canada Aviation and Space Museum for a dinner showcasing Canadian ingredients. Eva Fragiscato takes a look at what's on the menu for tonight's big dinner.
The menu for tonight's grand dinner at the Aviation Museum in Ottawa will showcase Canadian ingredients. Executive Chef Kenton Lear and his catering team from the National Arts Centre will feature ingredients such as East Coast yellowfin tuna, Alberta beef, flaxseed, Quebec maple syrup, and Yukon gold potatoes. The 3 courses also include a Cabernet Sauvignon jus made with wine from Pelee Island Winery in Kingsville, Ontario, along with a rum caramel made of Newfoundland's famous Screech rum. Sounds delicious. Though it's not an official state dinner, the Governor General will still be in attendance along with various cabinet ministers and Indigenous leaders. Eva Fragiscato, City News.
I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, thank you for joining us for the Sam Laprade Show. We have 3 hours of incredible guests, lots of different perspectives for you today. One guest that probably will break your heart today, because every single time I speak with him, he breaks mine, and that is Andy Stone. I met Andy Stone just about a year ago. His daughter, Marie Gabriel, was killed 1 year ago on Saturday. So coming up on March 25th, there'll be 1 year since his daughter, Marie Gabriel, lost her life. We're going to be speaking with Andy Stone about that tragedy and what this last year has been like for him. We're also going to speak with Karen Littlewood. She, of course, is the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation president. We're going to get her reaction to the Ontario budget. We're also going to be speaking with Maureen McTeer. Of course, she's a lawyer. She is an author, the wife of former Prime Minister Joe Clark, and, of course, the mom of the wonderful Catherine Clark as well. We'll get a chance to speak with Maureen McTeer a little bit later in the show. We wanted to start off today with some big news in the nonprofit world, and Michael Maidman joins me now. Hi, Michael.
Good morning.
Michael, congratulations on your new role. Tell all our listeners here at City News what important role in this community you've taken on.
Yeah, we just announced yesterday that I'm joining the Ottawa Community Foundation and in the role of president and CEO. And I'm going to start that in mid-April, which is some pretty exciting news.
Very exciting. And I'm sure listeners are thinking, Michael Maidman, I've heard that name before. Of course, with the Ottawa Food Bank for many, many years. And about two and a half years ago, moved over to the Ottawa Regional Cancer Foundation and working with the wonderful team over there. What does it mean to sort of take your expertise and everything that you've been through in terms of those different charities and bring all of that experience to the Ottawa Community Foundation?
Yeah, I think, Sam, that's exactly my thinking, right, is to bring that experience together and work with the team there to have a broad impact on the community. I mean, this is an organization who has had an incredible impact in our community over the past several decades. And, in my career working in nonprofit, I think all of us do it because we're interested in impact. I kind of joke that I chase impact throughout my career, and that's what we want to do in the nonprofit sector. And, that's why I'm so excited about this opportunity, because the organization touches the lives of so many people in our community and a broad range of issues. So that's pretty great.
For sure. I think back to my time at the Ottawa Mission, I think that's where our paths first crossed for the first time in terms of your work. And correct me if I'm wrong, was Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So working in the homeless sector as well, I think really gives you a sense of what's happening from a frontline perspective, and then moving from that into food security and then into a health charity. I think all that great knowledge will definitely be beneficial for your time with the Ottawa Community Foundation. For people that may not be familiar with the Ottawa Community Foundation, people hear the word foundation, they may not really get it, Michael, and I get it. It's kind of complicated for people that may not be working in this sector every day. Walk us through what your role is at the Ottawa Community Foundation.
Yeah, so as an organization, we have a fund that we manage, and it's the proceeds of that fund that is supported by donors that we make grants to many different causes throughout the community throughout the year. Last year, those grants totaled $15 million. And so there's a wide range, of course. You mentioned some of the core issues like food insecurity, homelessness, environment. Many of the priorities for our community are being supported by these grants. So donors donate to this fund, we manage the fund, and then those proceeds are granted out to the community.
And what I love about the Ottawa Community Foundation and the Community Foundation model is that there are families and individuals and sometimes other organizations that want to do good in the community, but they don't know where to start. So this is an opportunity for them to make an investment into the Ottawa Community Foundation, and you and your team, and you have a fabulous team. I could go on and on about your team. But, your team then really takes all of these applications funds, and they get that broad look at the community, and they're able to infuse money where it's most needed. And with a lot of integrity. I think that application process can be daunting for those charities that are applying, because I'll put my hand up, Michael, and say that I've been part of many of those applications. The application process is daunting, but at the end of the day, the donors are absolutely assured that who that money is going to will be used in the best interest of the community as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you used a couple of words, that I would underline. I think that, the first is investment, and the second is impact. I mean, this organization is all about creating impact, and we do it with the investment of the community, with philanthropy, with donor support. Their investment essentially is turned into impact. And, even in my recent time with the Ottawa Regional Cancer Foundation, the intersection between cancer and poverty, for example, is very real. And so these are the core issues in our community that have wide-ranging impacts. It's not just homelessness. It's not just food insecurity. It impacts our personal health, the healthcare system. They're all connected, and I think that's the mandate of this organization, is to really be at the intersection of all of these core issues in the community.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say, when you think about the way that this community has rallied during COVID-19? I mean, it wasn't perfect, Michael, but I will say overall, from where I sit, the community really did support each other during a time where so many had so many losses.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I call this community home. I mean, that's who we are, I think, as a community. I mean, I was at the food bank, the Ottawa Food Bank, when the pandemic started, and that is exactly how the community responded. It's the same way that the community responded during the ice storms, the same way it responded during the tornadoes. It's the same way the community responded during, recent floods of the Ottawa River. It's what we do as a community, and so to be able to lead a philanthropic organization and just be able to connect, a kind, caring community with the causes and organizations who do this work is an amazing opportunity. And, I love it.
You obviously haven't been through the process yet, but I know that, so many people fill out those applications, and for small charities and medium and large charities in this country, or in this city, my apologies, and they really do pin a lot of hopes on that. Do you think that part will be hard, Michael, seeing, the need maybe is $60 million, but you can only fund maybe $15 million? Will that be challenging for you, do you think?
Yeah, it will be challenging. I mean, I think it's something that I face in my entire career, whether I'm on this side, of an organization that's providing grants, or whether I'm on an organization that's providing, frontline services and support like the Cancer Foundation. I mean, you're always restricted by income. There's never enough money. There's never enough resources to take care of everybody. So unfortunately, that's something that I've experienced in my whole career. But I really see my job as to, build the resources of the organization, to grow the impact, to be able to give organizations the support that they need to do the important work to make our community a better place.
Mm-hmm. And what will that first day look like, Michael? How do you walk into an organization that's so beautifully entrenched? I think about people like the late Barbara McGuinness and the legacy that she's left behind, and Marco Pagani obviously worked for many, many years as well. How do you walk in? What's that first day look like?
Yeah, I think just excited to meet people. This is an organization that's done incredible work. I mean, throughout my career, I've worked in roles where I've been supported by the Ottawa Community Foundation. Barb McInnes, actually, I worked alongside Barb on a steering committee to create Ottawa's first poverty reduction strategy. And it was Barb, actually, who encouraged me to apply for the CEO role at the Ottawa Food Bank, and she was actually one of my references. So I used to joke with her that it was her fault that I got the job. And so I really love the connection here to be able to lead an organization that Barb spent so much energy and passion, leading that organization for I think 3 decades. So just meeting the people, learning about the great work that they do, and figuring out how I can continue to support that work, as we grow our impact.
Well, this is the first of many conversations with Michael Maidman regarding the Ottawa Community Foundation. Congratulations on the new title of President and CEO. We'll be following closely, Michael.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. When we come back, we're going to speak with Karen Littlewood. She's the president of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. That Ontario budget, of course, was on the minds of many, many organizations, including Karen's. We're going to find out what she thinks about the Ford government's infusion of monies into the education system. Was it enough? We're going to find out from Karen. And then right after the 10:30 news today, we're going to have a conversation with a gentleman by the name of Andy Stone. And Andy Stone lives in England. But we're going to have a conversation with him today that is something that happened right around the corner from this radio station. Just over a year ago, or just under a year ago, I should say, on Saturday, there'll be a milestone, a milestone tragedy that 1 year ago on Saturday, March 25th, his beautiful daughter was killed. She was murdered. And we're going to find out what this last year has been like for Andy Stone. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Yo. Yep. Okay, I'll be there.
Long way from Nashville, and mama, I tell you that. Performed from Montreal to Boston to Los Angeles. But Toronto, that's my chosen home. Sure, when I'm walking down Yonge Street, I see some funny people who have the nerve to point the finger at me. And grin and smile and whisper. My song was #2 on local radio. Sold 10,000 in Toronto alone. Turned down Ed Sullivan because they asked me to remove my makeup. Wouldn't do American Bandstand because of their segregation policies. I was just being me. Never tried to explain myself to anyone. And besides, none of that to worry, Jackie, because I know I look good. Got a new way of loving, baby. Thought I want to teach it to you.
Jackie Shane was a pioneer transgender soul singer, a central figure in the Toronto R&B scene. She helped shape what we know as the Toronto sound.
Here comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season? Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play! Stepwell scores!
He is making a statement, isn't he?
Oh, that's a beauty of a shot from the freshman.
The OHL playoffs.
What a goal!
On Rogers TV.
Here comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season? Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play!
67's action on Rogers TV.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, we knew the finance minister for Ontario got a new pair of shoes, but Ontario Residents may not be able to afford a new pair of shoes. Coming out of the budget yesterday, many people disappointed that the Ontario government didn't help out Ontarians a little bit during this budget. We wanted to spend some time today speaking about the education side of this with Karen Littlewood, the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation president. Hi, Karen.
Good morning, Sam. How are you?
Good. I know your calendar was marked yesterday, 4 o'clock. That budget came down. What were your thoughts in terms of the Ford government, particularly in regards to education?
Well, I was present in the House as the presentation was given, and I heard a lovely story about a road trip through the GTA and all the great highways and businesses. It took 30 minutes before people were even mentioned, but I'm still waiting for education to be mentioned. The monies announced for education are actually a shortfall. Students, again, are being shortchanged, and there is less money going to education now. It may look like there's more, but we have to take into account that the federal government has given $2 billion for childcare. So this Ford government is continuing to shortchange the students and to cut education instead of investing. So I would say I'm pretty disappointed.
Well, and we spoke with Lyra Evans, the chair of the Ottawa District School Board, and talking about a shortfall there for their school board, and she said every single school board would be facing the same thing. I mean, this really puts a lot of pressures on being creative. And if I hear that one more time about be more creative, I don't know how you can be more creative in a time like we're in right now.
Yeah, well, it feels like that the government's saying, sorry, you're on your own, you figure it out. And that's been the way for the last few years as well. I feel for the school boards trying to balance their budgets. And I've been using the Ottawa Carleton District School Board as an example. $9 million shortfall. Where does that money come from? But it's not just in Ottawa. That's happening across the province. I heard yesterday that the extra COVID money is gone and we don't need it anymore. A lot of that money was going to human support. So child and youth workers, mental health workers, and those conditions are still existing. Those have not been cured or gone away because you've spent money for a year on that. The government talked about a catch-up plan and all the things were going to be in place. Well, I guess we've caught up, but the problem is they're not keeping up with inflation, and their monies definitely aren't keeping up, and it's really unfair to the students of the province.
Well, and make no mistake about it, Karen, I like a balanced budget. I want to be on the surplus side like the majority of people. I want to be in the black. But the reality is yesterday's budget and the race to get out of this deficit that the province is in seems to be on the backs of healthcare and on education. I mean, when you looked at the breakdown of what was done there, and to your point about those infrastructure projects for highways, it really seemed to be those two categories of healthcare and education seem to be an afterthought, if you will.
That's right. You need look no further than the cover of the budget document. It's a dark blue picture of, I think it's a factory somewhere. Those aren't the people. Yes, we need people working in industry, but we need people supporting students of the province going forward. This should be a long-term investment. And we've been saying for years now, every dollar you spend on education comes back as $1.30 to the economy. You save money on healthcare when people are educated. You save money on social services when people are educated. Public education is the great equalizer. Everyone should have access. But what's happening now is the government is saying, you'll be okay. It doesn't have to be this way. We have money in this province, and we need to be investing in the people of the province in order to deliver that change and to build Ontario. To have strong Ontario, it takes the people doing the work.
Well, and I can't help but to think about parents of children with autism, and we know that they feel very shortchanged by the Ford government over many, many years. And, we know that many times falls to the school board to try and help families with children with autism, provide that extra support, and those dollars just won't be there. They're not going to come out of the sky, Karen.
No, exactly. And the costs are rising. You talk to the bus transportation people, and all of their costs have gone up, yet they're not getting any increased funding to go with it. I've kind of been following the Minister of Finance around today as he's doing his interviews before I'm doing mine, and I heard him mention earlier that it's an oasis of stability in the province. I don't feel that in education. We need stable, predictable funding. I don't feel that stability now. What I feel is people leaving the profession. There are over 40,000 qualified teachers in the province of Ontario who are not working in Ontario schools. They have said, I don't want any part of this. And it's also secretaries and custodians and child and youth workers. People don't want to work in education right now because we don't have that stability. But worse, we don't have a commitment from the government to provide that stable funding going forward.
Well, and quite honestly, I could take exactly what you just said, and I can hear Doris Grinspun from the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario saying the same thing about nurses. I mean, this is a common theme, and so it makes you really wonder. When a document like this budget is being prepared, who do you think Premier Ford is listening to?
Well, I can tell you right now, private unions were mentioned, and those are the private unions that endorse the Ford government going forward. So that's the logical conclusion that I have with that type of action that's being taken by the government. The other thing the nurses and healthcare have in common with education is Bill 124, which is the bill that restricted our wages to 1% for 3 years, majority women workforce, absolutely an attack on the women of the province. We won that court case. It was deemed unconstitutional, and what happens? The pattern is the same as always. We challenge, we win, the government appeals. So now they're spending more taxpayer dollars to fight a decision that was deemed to be unconstitutional, and we sit and we wait and we continue to not have what we need in our public sector jobs.
We only have 30 seconds, Karen. What do you say to teachers that are listening right now about this budget?
Well, to the whole education system, you've been asked to figure it out on your own for far too long. We really need to demand that the government provides stable, predictable funding for the province. We need to be investing in education. We need to stop shortchanging the students of the province.
Are you tired, Karen?
I'm tired, but the people working frontline are way more tired than me, and my heart goes out to them, but that's not enough for them to be able to get through the next couple of years without the money that we need from the government.
Karen Littlewood, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Karen is the president of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. We appreciate her time today. Listen, we're going to take a short break. Demi Lola is going to bring you the news, and then we're going to spend some time with Andy Stone. You will not want to miss this conversation. Trust me. Stay with me on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
On the next Fit Over 50, join us for leg strength and balance. Can't wait to see you then. Namaste.
Hi, I'm Justice. And I'm Nia. And we believe dreams fuel revolutions. That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support.
Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
After a night out with your friends, there's always options for getting home safely. You could call your BFF, your mom or dad, whoever you can count on for a safe ride home. You could call your favorite cab company or 1-888 taxi guy. Or you could use the Arrive Alive smartphone app to help you choose your ride. Be it a friend, transit, or taxi, getting home safely is app easy. Now available for iOS and Android devices. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
At Celebrate Ottawa, we love showing you something a little different. We showcase remarkable people highlighting the city's diversity in arts, culture, sports, and nature. We will show you features that prove Ottawa is a vibrant and exciting city. We'll entertain you and we'll even teach you new things. Join me, your host, Lila Grine, as we explore and celebrate Ottawa.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train.
She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Little brown girl, little brown girl.
Hey, I'm Picasso Win Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa and in Smith Falls, we are under a special weather statement and the temperature is 0. And here's what's making news this hour. Border issues, modernizing NORAD, helping Haiti, and critical minerals will be on the agenda as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hosts U.S. President Joe Biden. Some people gathered to watch Biden's motorcade arrive last night, while others took advantage of the empty downtown to play soccer on the street. Biden and Trudeau open a day of meetings later this morning at Parliament's West Block and will hold a joint news conference in the afternoon after Biden addresses the House of Commons. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau has a day of activities planned with First Lady Jill Biden that includes talking about wellness and mental health and a visit to the National Gallery. And road closures still in effect in parts of the city today for U.S. President Joe Biden's first state visit. Most of the closed roads are in the downtown area, so if you're able to avoid the core till this evening, you definitely should. Other affected routes are the Aviation Parkway and Airport Parkway and also Bronson Avenue. Some of the road closures are in effect until 11 tonight. Westminster Abbey is going to offer a shoeless tour following the May 6th coronation of King Charles III. Visitors will be allowed to stand on the exact spot where King Charles will be crowned, but they will need to remove their shoes to protect the Abbey's medieval mosaic floor. The intricate mosaic cosmati pavement made of marble, stone, glass, and metal was commissioned by King Henry III in the 2000s. Monarchs have been crowned on it for about 700 years. City News time is 10:31. I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
I think back to July of 2021 when I got the nod to host this show every single day and for, 3 hours bring you different topics, what was happening in the community. And, the minute I was told, the very first thing I said to our news director at the time was Glennis Lane, is I wanted to put a big focus on a couple of things. One was intimate partner violence and mental health. And I think we've had the opportunity to meet many, many people over the last couple of years on this topic. But one person that I just will never, ever forget is Andy Stone, and he joins me now. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Good. Oh, even hearing your voice, thank you so much for spending time with us. And I know you're coming to us from across the pond today. Andy, you and I had the opportunity to meet through this radio station, through City News, very tragically under very, very tragic circumstances. And in March 25th of 2022, we got the news that a beautiful young woman had lost her life just around the corner from the radio station here. And I wanted to understand who Marie Gabriel was. And of course, she was your daughter, Andy.
Yep, that's it. She was, and I'm struggling to even comprehend that it's actually a year ago. It's just, one thing I got to say, I'm grateful I'm here. I really am, and I'm grateful to you and the support you guys are giving me. The email here and whatever. It's just kept me with a mission to keep going.
And Andy, I think back to that day, and it's so tragic as you know, in the newsroom we get notifications from the police that there's been a homicide, or in this case a femicide, and we see on the front page of the paper, we see pictures of your beautiful daughter. But I wanted to spend this time today remembering Marie and also really trying to talk about intimate partner violence and really trying to avoid this, Andy, to be honest with you, in the future, that any other family goes through what you've gone through.
Yeah, Bishop, can I just pick up on one thing you said there about, the news reports and etc. That's my job as well, as a photographer for the news agencies. And, the picture always stays with me that I've seen from the press over there of the house with the snow and the police cars and the police tape around the house. And I look at that picture. Sam, I've taken that same picture 1,000 times of different homicides in the UK and whatever. And, to see that picture and just to know, I never realised what was behind that tape until a year ago when I realised my daughter is behind that tape. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, Andy. It just breaks my heart. And I remember that picture. And unfortunately, many women have lost their lives at the hands of their partner. We know there's an allegation that her partner, and he is obviously set to stand trial in September of 2024 for this murder. But when we think about Marie, she had obviously a couple of young, beautiful children. What's this last year been like for you, Andy?
There are no words. There are no words, and all I keep thinking to myself when I talk to people like yourself, Sam, is, if one female or one family member of a female hears what we say and then gets out of such a relationship, we've done something good. And if I can do something good for somebody else's daughter, sister, mother, then we're on a winner.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about Marie.
What can I say? She's a beautiful girl. She was a great mum. We were very unfortunate that in her early life, myself and her mother, we became estranged and then sat opposite sides of the world. We lost contact, but, and this is the thing, whilst I wrongly, if you like, gave up looking, I'd exhausted everything, didn't know where else to look, I was looking in the wrong country, she didn't give up. And she's the one that came looking for me, and she's the one that found me, and she's the one who made sure that, we were in touch. And that just is testament to the person who she was. A loving soul, a caring soul, who, despite any wrongs done to her by a great many people, she always forgave them.
And Andy, when I think back to our conversations, the heartbreaking conversations just days after Marie was killed in 2022, one of the ones that really stays with me is the fact that, there was some intimate partner violence, some evidence of that. And that breaks my heart to think that she was experiencing that and eventually lost her life.
Sam, I'm at pains to tell you something, but I know that I shouldn't. But there's content of text messages regarding this violence, which are going to be used in evidence in the trial next year. So I really don't want to jeopardise that for anybody, especially the prosecution and the police. They have been, the Crown, you call them there, Absolutely. They have been absolutely fantastic, really, really have. I would be so broken if I said something to you that would jeopardise anything for them. But
Fair
yes,
enough.
she was caught up in domestic violence many times. I think I explained it to you last time. She used WhatsApp to communicate, and you'd get 2 ticks and a blue tick if she read the messages, and then all of a sudden 6 weeks there'd be no tick. There's just 1 tick. The message hasn't been delivered, and there that her phone's been taken off her and whatever's happened, and I'm not going to hear from her until she gets free and gets out of that cycle again, and then starts a new phone line, and I'll get a random message, hey Papa, and that was how it was always.
Mm-hmm. And Andy, I would never want to do anything to jeopardize anything, so I completely understand. And being thrown into the justice system in another country, Andy, what's that been like for you?
as I say, the Crown and the police really, really have been at pains to accommodate me with every single thing that they can. They've been brilliant, but it's still difficult. Where I was a part, I can't participate in the court cases that have gone on because I'm going to be a witness in the case. They upped it from, and I'm really so grateful. They've upped him from second degree to first degree charge. So, it's been difficult answering your question. Sorry. It's been very difficult, but made very, very easy by the prosecutor or the Crown and the police involved. Mm-hmm. Really easier.
Do you find it, I'm asking this with so much respect, Andy, but do you find there's mornings where you wake up and you have to sort of remind yourself that this has happened, that it is so unbelievable?
Does a Pope wear a funny hat? Almost every day. I've got pictures in my home, and there's a candle forever burning. And when I look at it, I think, no, this isn't true. This is a bad dream. And there's many, many mornings I get up. I don't wake up. I get up because I haven't been to sleep. And I'm just thinking about this.
And I know you can't talk about, your last communications regarding anything to do with the trial, but in terms of a last conversation with Marie, do you remember that?
Very well, very, very well. One of the most poignant conversations I think I'll ever have. Mm-hmm. And I think I mentioned to you before. She sent me a link to a YouTube video of a song, and a song I'd never heard of before. Somebody called Rascal Flatts, "I Won't Let Go," and I play it over and over, and it just reminds me who she is and that she's still with me. She's still here.
Absolutely, Andy. Have you met your grandbabies yet?
Not yet, no. I've not been fortunate enough to come out to Ottawa just yet. I was planning, should have been there this weekend, but upon discussions and advice and everything else, I've decided it's better for me I wait, however long it's going to be, the trial, come out there and then just deal with everything. Because obviously there's legal things in place regarding the children that I'm not party. I'm not, because being so far away, I'm not able to get involved in.
Mm-hmm. It must be challenging, Andy, to be so far away. And I know, when we spoke just days after Marie was killed, you just wanted to beam yourself here. You just wanted to be here and be close, and it must be very challenging.
Of course, there's not a week goes by where I don't want to, come out there. I'm forever looking online at flights to Ottawa, return flights. Can I fly out today? Come back tomorrow? I've tried and tried and tried, but yeah, it's turmoil. It really is. It's the most unexplainable situation. All these things rolled into one, and you deal with the flying bit, going out there today. Tomorrow you're thinking about, I wonder where the grandchildren are. I wonder, is somebody looking after her? Every day there's a new thing that pops up, but the others don't go away. They just sit there waiting for you to come back to them.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say, Andy, to somebody that's listening right now that may be in a precarious situation? They may be in a house where there's violence and they're scared to leave. They're scared to leave the stuff. They know it's going to disrupt the children's lives. What would you say to somebody today that maybe is facing violence in their own home?
A year ago, shooting from the hip, I said to you, run. Just keep running and don't stop running. But now, thinking about it, look, children are resilient. If the hand of violence doesn't strike you, it may strike one of the children. Get out. Just really, it's hard, it's painful. And trust me, I can't tell you how many times Mimi got out. I cannot tell you, I have to be careful of the court case, but, they try, they come back. These people that do these things, they're very clever. they ostracize the person. They get them away from the people that care about them, the people that talk to them, the people that love them, and so that they believe that that one person with the violence is the person that holds them dear. But it's all a game. It's all a lie. Get out. Run.
We're going to continue our conversation today with Andy Stone, of course, the father of Marie Gabriel. And Andy, thanks so much for spending time with us today. We're going to come back on City News. Stay with us, everyone.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Hi, I'm Justice.
And I'm Nia.
And we believe dreams fuel revolutions. That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support.
Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
It's about sharing and caring. It's about doing and belonging. It's about living life to its fullest. And it's about laughing out loud. We are L'Arche Canada, and we're about witnessing and sharing the gifts of all people. Learn more about us today.
On Friday's Daytime Ottawa, we'll introduce you to publicist and author Charles Mwewa and talk about his collection of books. We'll also tell you about Le Chemin de Outaouais. It is a really exciting thing, and you're going to want to tune in to hear that. And the Spring Festival, the Sugar Festival, is back again this year. It took a hiatus for 4 years, but we're going to talk everything sweet, all that and more on Friday's Daytime Ottawa.
Hey everybody, my name is Karen. I'm here with my best friends Shane and Monique. Join us on Rogers TV for Fitness Faction. Every week we're going to take you through a full body workout. We've got strength training, we've got cardio, we've got HIIT. Ladies, let's get back into it.
I think we've got 10 more skaters. Let's go.
Here comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season?
Another highlight reel goal.
Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play!
Steps one, scores! He is making a statement, isn't he?
Oh, that's a beauty of a shot from the freshman.
The OHL playoffs.
What a goal!
On Rogers TV.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, I show you how to fill your freezer with 8 different meals for the next time you're in a pinch.
Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
We're continuing our conversation today with Andy Stone. Andy is the father of Marie Gabriel, who was tragically killed March 25th of 2022. Andy, thanks so much for staying with us.
No problem.
How will you mark this tragic milestone on Saturday, Andy?
I don't know. I've been asked that 100 times the last few days. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think I want to be in company of friends and family. I think I want to spend some time alone. I'll probably just sit around the candle. I'll chat to her picture, and I'll repeat my promises to her that, we won't give up. We'll keep fighting until she gets her justice.
Has it ever been tempting to give up, Andy, and just let the system work its way, or is it important to you to have that fight in you?
The easiest thing in the world, Sam, is to walk away. The easiest thing in the world 12 months ago, 11 months ago, 10 months ago, and so forth, right up until today, is to find a friend in the bottom of a bottle, in the bottom of a carton of tablets, or at the end of a rope. Those things I'm forever thought about. But, you know, what would she say to me if I did that? So what would she say if I didn't bother fighting for her? I'd have let her down. That song that she sent me said, "Don't let go." I won't let go. So why should I?
It's so ironic, Andy, that she sent you that song. You sent it to me. I listened to it today.
Yep.
It's so, it's just, I don't know. I believe that in life there, you know, sometimes life just isn't a coincidence. I think there's a reason for a lot of stuff. And that song, it's just so unbelievable that she sent that to you.
Sam, the frightening thing is, you know, as I said, and you accept, there are some things that I have to give evidence about, which I can't say. But yes, that song and that information, which, you know, I'm happy enough to share with you off air, but it's very ironic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And what do friends and family say to you, Andy? Do they treat you different now?
Yes, here, friends, strange that they're fed up. They're fed up. Oh, here he is. He's Mr. Depressing. You know, I've heard it. Mr. Depressed, Mr. Miserable. You know, they're fed up. They've given me the advice, but I don't blame. They can't cope. They don't know how to deal with such a thing. You know, Sam, you keep repeating one solitary word, which, you know, I really respect you for, but these people, they don't understand. And they're my friends, they're my loved ones, and I don't hold it against them. But you understand, but the fact that you use this one particular word, you always refer to my daughter as being killed. So many people refer to my daughter as having died. She didn't die. She didn't pass away. You know, somebody killed her.
And make no mistake about it, Andy, it's hard to say that to you, especially having you on the line. But I don't want to sugarcoat intimate partner violence anymore. And this is one of the reasons that, you know, I want to bring it out of the shadows and out of the taboo topics and bring it out into the, you know, out into the conversations and to have those conversations when parents see that their children are in situations like this, even though those children are adults, you know, there's still a role for parents, as you know.
You're spot on. You know, Sam, there's been so many instances. There's a particular Facebook group which deals with, or apparently allegedly deals with such things. And one member, you know, the abusive language that she directed at me, and, you know, because I was upset. And she directed some language at me, which, you know, I responded to with equal abuse back at her. The two words, one begins with F and the other one ends in F. And she got me banned from Facebook. But amazingly, I looked and saw she worked in a hostel for such people, for such women. You know, and I think people don't really realise what a nasty, nasty, horrible thing domestic violence is. It's not something that's got a place under the carpet anymore. It's not a place that's a thing that's got a place behind closed doors anymore. It's got to be like you do. Get it out there in the open. Let people know. People don't even think it exists.
Right. And what happens behind closed doors? I mean, that's the thing. The outward facing stuff can look all shiny, but the reality is sometimes what's happening behind closed doors is really difficult to talk about, and people have a lot of shame around it, Andy. I mean, there's a lot of shame around it.
You know, my little girl used to say to me, she used to tell me off for being angry towards the person who's now accused of murdering her. You know, she would speak highly of him. And that's part and parcel of the game. There's no more a place for it to hide away. It's not in the bushes. It's not behind closed doors. It's not under the club. It's not even under the bed. It's got nowhere to hide now, Sam. It's got to be out there.
How has this changed you, Andy, as a person? This murder of your daughter.
amazingly. I take nothing for granted, absolutely nothing for granted at all. I look at people, I'm questioning, people, the smile on people's faces. I'm questioning the sincerity of people when they say or do things. I don't trust anybody that I don't know. I don't trust them. I see young girls in the supermarkets with their babies and their partners, and I see the partner slam something into the shopping cart rather than put it in there, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, is he another one? Is that another one of them? These invisible monsters.
Invisible monster, wow. I'll take that away with me today. And I think, Andy, when we think about, Marie and, so beautiful. I mean, she's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And, we think about, what she endured. And we hope that she's at peace now, Andy, right? We hope that, obviously she died a horrific death. But I hope, although she's not with us here and not with her beautiful babies or you, but we hope that she has found some peace.
Well, that's all we can hope for. Sam, we don't know yet. We don't know, and what little bit we do know, we're not allowed to share yet. But we don't know the full details. All I can say, because it's quite open, is she was alone for 48 hours. Okay, I don't know what time in that 48 hours that she lost her life. I don't know, how long alone she was in pain and suffering. All I ask is that it was minutes, seconds even, because from what I've heard and what I know so far, no human being, not even him, should be in that position that she was in.
And what do you say to yourself as you try to get to sleep at night, Andy, about this process, this legal process, and hopefully seeing some justice at the end of it all?
I thank God that people, this guy called Dallas, and the police officers, the guy Dallas from the Crown, I thank God that he gives them a will to go forward, and they never ever seem to be lax in what they're doing, and they never down the gear. They're always full speed, and that's what gives me peace, to be able to put my head on the pillow at night, knowing that and you remember, you're 4 or 5 hours difference time to me behind me. Mm-hmm. So whilst I'm laying down to try and rest that night, those people are still up and they're doing their things. And then, so 24/7, there's somebody thinking about her 24/7.
Well, Andy, I'll never forget her. I mean, I didn't have the honor and pleasure of meeting her, but I've gotten to know Mimi, Marie through you, and I'm so grateful that you would come on. Not a lot of people, Andy, want to come on and talk about this, especially leading up to such a tragic milestone. So I give you all the credit for being brave, and I really do appreciate your openness today.
Sam, I appreciate everything you guys do. I really do. And, the fact that you drop in on email, just, a quick hello always makes a big difference to my day. Between you and me, if we make one person say, I'm not taking this anymore, then we've done something. Maybe, who knows, you took it away today, the invisible monsters. Maybe other people will pick up that term, the invisible monsters. Maybe we can rid this scourge of invisible monsters from a lot of people. If we do one, we've really done well. If we do two, excellent, and so forth and so forth. But, together, I think, your listeners as well, if they get behind you guys there, I'm sure your social media, and give support and help those people that they know that are struggling, but they're keeping quiet for the invisible monster. And even the invisible monster himself, perhaps is listening. One is listening today, and he should think to himself, maybe I will go too far one day and I can't come back from it. Stop now.
Andy Stone, thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Sam. You take care.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
When an impaired driver killed my brother DJ, some people used the A word. They called it an accident, but it wasn't. An accident implies that no one was at fault. But when someone impaired by alcohol and/or drugs chooses to drive, they're fully responsible for the crash that can result. So please, for the memory of my brother DJ and the thousands of families whose lives have been shattered by impaired drivers, let's drop the A word.
A crash caused by impaired driving is not an accident.
Hi, I'm Meg from AIM Fitness, and I'm here with my buddy Fit Finley. Join us every week for Fit Over 50. We'll take you through some low-impact and high-intensity workouts designed to improve your strength and your balance. All you'll need is a resistance band, some light hand weights, and also your water bottle and a sturdy chair. Tune in right here on Rogers TV and let us be part of your weekly routine.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It is Friday, March 24th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls under a special weather statement, it is partly cloudy and zero. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. The official state visit continues for U.S. President and his wife. Joe Biden will be arriving on Parliament Hill in about half an hour, where he will start a jam-packed day that will include an address to Parliament and an expected announcement on migration. City News parliamentary reporter Cormac McSweeney is there.
Security is ultra tight, with crowds of police officers and cruisers essentially making the streets around Parliament Hill a lockdown zone. When President Biden's motorcade arrives on the Hill, he'll be personally greeted by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and then make his way inside to sign the official guest books. He'll also head up to the Prime Minister's office for a private one-on-one meeting, and then it will be expanded with several cabinet ministers involved. Now, that's where they could finalize a reported agreement on irregular migration. Reports say our two countries have made a breakthrough on this contentious issue to extend the Safe Third Country Agreement across our entire border, giving border agents the power to turn asylum seekers away if they try to enter either country from the other. There may also be a deal on fast-tracking NORAD modernization and critical minerals, Haiti, and Buy America policies also expected to be discussed. After that, Biden will deliver an address to a joint session of Parliament, where he's expected to talk about our strong ties, but also push Canada to do more on security. And on the world stage, he'll wrap up his visit tonight with an official state dinner. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
And with the weather forecast for Ottawa and the Valley, here is City News weather specialist John Wilson.
Quiet today with cloud and sunny breaks, and the guaranteed high is 3. Not so quiet tomorrow with a disturbance tightly wound coming through. That means windy with snow. 1 degree, 5 to 7 centimeters tomorrow, mainly afternoon. Strong south wind 60 with higher gusts, and a special weather statement's out for that. That could change to any number of watches or warnings as we get a little bit closer. Then Sunday, showers or flurries are both in 4, and Monday, sunny and 5. Today's guaranteed high 3.
City News time is 11:03. Ottawa police asking for your help locating a missing teenager. Layla Al-Hariri has been missing since Monday. She was last seen in the area of Woodruff and Carlin. She's of Middle Eastern descent, is about 5 feet tall and weighs about 150 pounds. A picture of Layla and her full description is at our website, ottawa.citynews.ca. If you spot her or know where she is, you're asked to contact Ottawa Police. I am Damilola Onime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
So yesterday I was, doing my thing here at City News, and I see this headline in the Ottawa Citizen, and the headline reads, 1-year-old Ottawa girl overdosed on fentanyl, saved at CHEO. And of course the subheading, the parents are now on trial for criminal negligence causing bodily harm. And of course, who do I see? Gary Dimmick wrote this article. Gary Dimmick, of course, from the Ottawa Citizen, goes to those places so many avoid. Gary, this is a tough topic today.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, it's not every day you hear of the youngest fentanyl overdose victim in the city, if not the country. She's only 12 months old, through no fault of her own, is crawling around. 1 minute she's crawling around on her on the living room floor, and the next minute, she's just staring ahead and, stopped breathing. The mom thought, maybe there's an obstruction, the kid's choking, yells for the dad's help. He checks out the mouth, nothing there. Paramedics, she phones 911. Paramedics arrive. Baby is blue, unresponsive, vital signs absent. And paramedics rush her to CHEO. Two doses of naloxone later, and it's another miracle on Smythe Road.
No kidding.
When the staff at CHEO, when they do their job, they don't put out press releases. There's a lot of jobs out there that are in the public sector. They put out press releases for every single thing they do all day long. Staff at CHEO, wow, just, and I use the word miracle not lightly because, I didn't put it in the story, but it could be argued that the child was vital signs absent for at least an hour.
Wow.
It's truly incredible. And naloxone and people that know how to use it saves lives, even in this case where who would have thought, right?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I'm thinking 1-year-old. I mean, I've got children. You've got children, Gary. The last thing we think we're going to be using on a 1-year-old if something's wrong with them is naloxone. I mean, that's where the professionalism and the expertise comes at CHEO. But to think that they're using that on a 1-year-old baby. I mean, it's a baby, Gary.
Yeah, and you wonder how fentanyl got in her system. And that's unexplained in court, and no one knows, and I don't think anyone will know or find out. The traces of fentanyl, much like traces of cocaine, that residue is, pretty much in a lot of places these days, unfortunately, and it's not lost on me that the two parents that are on trial for criminal negligence causing bodily harm, administering noxious substance, etc., failing necessities, life. They're both in recovery, and in the story, I mentioned that the father was just coming back from the methadone clinic, and the mom went to the methadone clinic and then went to CHEO to check on her kid. And that might sound off for some people that don't know that world, but that she went to the methadone clinic is probably a lot better than doing the real stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Hard to hear, though, Gary, for sure. And in your reporting, Gary, I noticed as well that you've indicated that how the fentanyl residue came into the house is unclear. But when the baby was revived, the test showed that she had fentanyl and meth in her system. That is so hard to hear.
Right, because for your listeners, meth is a lot of times cut with fentanyl, as is cocaine and heroin and everything else. So it's pretty much in anything right now because it's so cheap and so powerful. So what it does is it boosts the other drug, right?
Mm-hmm. And listen, and I'm not here to judge anybody. That's not my job. It's, today's about awareness and about really the miracle you speak about at CHEO. But it is hard to read in your reports, Gary, that, many things were found where children would be in terms of, talk a little bit about that.
Well, we're not at your house and we're not at, other people's houses. This is family home where you've got the two parents that are in recovery. And as you say, they're finding stuff, in the ottoman that was used as a toy box. And you got prescription pills in there and, prescription pills in cupboards. Essentially, all out of reach. Well, it appears out of reach from a 1-year-old crawling baby in the purse. But then what's also difficult to kind of, I don't know, I don't want to judge either, but, in the master bedroom floor, the police found an axe, switchblade. I didn't put that in the story, but I put the axe in. What else did they find? There was something else.
It says a baton, asp baton. I don't know what that is. Oh,
yeah. Mm-hmm. For your listeners, an asp baton, a lot of the police use them. It's a retractable baton.
Oh, yes.
And, that was there, and the axe. I don't know. I've lived in a Vanier apartment, but I didn't have an axe. I don't know why it was there or whatever. The other thing, too, that I should note, just to be fair, all of the photographs that were entered as exhibits that I saw of the apartment, this is a tidy apartment. This is tidy, and it is jammed with stuffed animals and toys and a brand new car seat and a brand new this, and it's brightly lit, and there's art on the walls, and there's lots of plants. This is not your, crack house from the movie kind of thing, right? And in all of this, parents aside, I just think about the little girl crawling around, and God bless the staff over at CHEO. Wow, that there's so many bad news stories going around, and this one is a bad news story, but it had a good ending so far. When they say causing bodily harm and instantly overdosing on fentanyl, I don't know what the long-term effects of that are. I guess they'll find out when the girl goes to school.
It's going to be so interesting to see, Gary, what comes of this. And, I can't say it enough. You go to those places that so many of us want to avoid, but you bring these tough subjects, and I really do value what you do. Some of these are really hard, especially as parents, to talk about, Gary.
Yeah, this is as hard as to talk about as all the other bad stories I write about involving children doing other alleged crimes. But I think it's something that's got to be talked about. Hey, God bless you for having this show to talk about this and all the other subjects you talk about, because stuff that doesn't just happen on Awareness Week or Awareness Day. You got to keep talking about it. It might get boring, and it might say, it doesn't affect me. Fentanyl affects everybody, believe it or not. There is somebody that somebody knows in our community that this is affecting in the worst possible way. This is the one time where it feels great to report that the kid lived, right? Everything went right.
For sure.
But everything went right until, not before, everything went really, really wrong. And that's the problem. We got to make it so that we don't get it to the point where it ends right. We got to stop it from where it starts going wrong.
And to your point, Gary, about talking about these subjects, because I think when people think about fentanyl, they're thinking about the tragedies that are happening in British Columbia and all across the country. Here in Ottawa, they're thinking about places like homeless shelters and on the streets and under bridges. But the reality is, there's fentanyl deaths that are happening when two kids split a pill in half, one dies and one lives. I mean, that's the reality, and those people are living in Canada and Orleans and Stittsville and Barhaven. I mean, this isn't just on the downtown streets, and not to degrade what's happening on the downtown streets. Those are brothers and mothers and sons too, but I think when people think about fentanyl, they're thinking about a sector of our population that is abusing drugs, but it is happening all across this city.
They're thinking about a dark alley downtown or in Vanier. The reality is, when you said, somebody takes half the pill and that person lives, that person dies, that's because the drug dealers or drug makers in this situation, they don't have a quality and control department. So when they're blending it, not cooking it in a blender, there's a farmhouse actually in Ottawa where they used to make it. And there is no quality control, right? And once all the little sheets are out and they cool, you don't know if there's 90% in that or 10% in that. There's no quality control. And people that are using fentanyl are not the stereotypical, it's not always the street alley and the whatever, the dark and the dirty. You're talking about bureaucrats, you're talking about people that have two parents, you're talking about regular people, and it's an addiction. And because the fentanyl is now in their drug of choice, and it's not like passing a joint in the 80s first time. Those two girls in Canada, they weren't addicts. This was a first-time thing, right? Mm-hmm. And it affects everybody. I personally know two people that overdosed and did not live, and that was fentanyl. And one was an older gentleman, very successful, and the other one, unfortunately, was a young woman in her 20s. And and you talk about sleeping under the bridge. I know people that grew up in really good homes with two, sometimes three parents, and good income, the whole bit, and fentanyl hits, and next thing you know, it goes really fast, and then next thing you know, you're sleeping under the bridge, literally.
Well, I remember in 2019, I was brought to the Queensway Carleton Hospital. I was having some health issues. I was in the emergency department in a bed with a very thin curtain. And I can still, if I think about it for a second, I can still hear the horrific sound that I heard come from a son when he was told by an emergency room doctor, when his family was all standing beside him, and some of them, to be honest with you, were pushing the curtain right on my bed because there were so many people standing around him, to be told that him and his father, that they had fentanyl the night before, that his dad died, and to hear what that kid sounded like when he heard his dad died, I'll never forget it, Gary. It changed me, honestly. I can't imagine what it did to that young man.
Yeah, it's that's when it gets real, right? Mm-hmm. It's not on a brochure for a treatment center. The reality is that a lot of the kids don't need treatment. They just need, fentanyl to be gone. They need treatment if they're addicted. But a lot of times, like you said, Russian roulette, somebody's the first time, I don't know what the answers are, but I do know that you don't get to the answers until you talk about it. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that in the hospital bed, listening to the people next door in their darkest time.
Oh, I felt for them. I think about them all the time. Gary, thanks so much. I value so much what you bring to our show here in City News and what you bring to readers of the Ottawa Citizen. I appreciate it. Your time always.
Take care, Sam, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Gary Dimmick. He's one of the good ones, I got to tell you. He's down in there at the court listening to some of the most horrific testimony. And he brings those stories to us. There's not many people that could do that for, probably upwards of 3 decades now. He's doing an incredible job. When we come back, Maureen McTeer is going to be here. She's written a new book. I want to hear all about it Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Here comes the 67. He scores! How's that for your first of the season? Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play!
67's action on Rogers TV.
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
What do I like? I like open fires, moonlit nights, chatty letters, rainy days. I like daydreaming. I love this colorful little island of ruby, emerald, and sapphire. Yet often my dark moods come. I'm possessed body and soul by this depression. They say women shouldn't write. Some days I almost give up. But I cannot contain my imagination. I made Anne real. I gave her my love of nature, my love of books, and my childhood dreams. My greatest happiness would be to climb the alpine path and write upon it a woman's humble name.
Lucy Maud Montgomery battled depression, rejection, and sexism to become known around the world for Anne of Green Gables and 19 other novels.
Here comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season? Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play! Steps one scores!
He is making a statement, isn't he?
Oh, that's a beauty of a shot from the freshman.
The OHL playoffs.
What a goal!
On Rogers TV.
It's a new season of the new Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
On the next Fit Over 50, join us for leg strength and balance. Can't wait to see you then. Namaste.
Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you for joining us here on City News. I'm Sam Laprade. I have to tell you, I remember so many years ago looking up to Maureen McTeer, and never in a million years did I think I would have a chance to interview her. But she joins me now. Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Good. I'm going to try not to fangirl too much because we've got lots to talk about, but I do want to say how much I respect you, and I followed your career, of course. Maureen is a lawyer. She has a beautiful daughter by the name of Catherine Clark, who I adore as well, and of course, wife of former Prime Minister Joe Clark. You've experienced so much in your life, Maureen, and now you're an author as well.
Yes. This is my 5th book.
Amazing. And the book title, which I'm fascinated about, Fertility, 40 Years of Change.
That's right.
Walk me through why this topic, Maureen.
Well, this is a topic that I've been lecturing about for many years now. The whole area of reproductive technologies, like, for instance, in vitro fertilization, some of the women's health issues related to that, the environmental issues as they relate to the decline in male sperm, all kinds of areas that are related to the whole question of fertility and infertility. And these are really important issues for Canadians because fully 1 in 6 Canadians need help to treat their infertility issues. And 15% of those Canadian couples will seek medical advice for infertility-related problems and find that fully 2/3 of them will need specialized medical intervention. So obviously these issues affect the fertility aspect of many Canadians, but also increasingly because of other medical advances and research advances. We now have an opportunity to use the reproductive technologies, in particular in vitro fertilization, with information and knowledge that we've gleaned from other research to in fact identify genetic anomalies which lead to serious or fatal diseases. And just 2 local examples, I suppose, are Duchenne's muscular dystrophy as an example, or Huntington's disease, so that families or couples who before did not want to engage in a Russian roulette of perhaps carrying on or passing on to their children a serious or fatal genetic condition, in fact now can use in vitro fertilization, have the embryos looked at and tested, and then they will see whether or not any of them are free of the genetic condition that has haunted their families for years, and if so, only transfer to a woman for a pregnancy those that are unaffected, so that these couples who before were not going to be able to have a family through the normal means then can in fact have a healthy family. So there's lots of wonderful things happening.
Wow. That's incredible. And I'll tell you, I'll spill all the beans today. I had a really hard time getting pregnant, and we went to a fertility clinic, and that whole process is really hard emotionally, of course. And, we had some treatments, and of course I've got a beautiful daughter today. But those, I think until people have gone through it, they may not understand. Who did you write the book for, Maureen?
I wrote the book for the lay public, mainly, as an informational tool, because the laws need to be changed. They need to be updated and made fit for purpose. The provinces and the territories and the federal government have to work closely together to achieve this with respect to fertility and fertility clinics, because the first attempt by the federal government to pass a law failed when it went to the Supreme Court. So we're a bit in limbo now, and one of the realities is that the private sector is taking over the whole area of fertility clinics. Fully half of all the fertility clinics in Canada are owned by multinational corporations that come from abroad. So that means that people who can't afford it will, in fact, be unable to use these technologies. So there's also need for regulations. A lot of the work that's being done in the UK, for instance, now, where you have these add-ons. If you wash the sperm, maybe you have a better chance of getting pregnant, and it's only another $2,000 or $3,000 to do that, and so on. There's need for regulation, and there's also need to some of these things. For instance, surrogacy commercial surrogacy is a criminal offense under the code. So if we're not going to enforce that, then perhaps we need to change it. So there are all kinds of aspects, if you will, of the law that need to be changed, and Canadians need to be protected. And I believe that medical infertility is, in fact, a service that should be covered and must be covered under provincial insurance schemes.
Maureen, I honestly, I could talk to you all afternoon. But I know you have a big book signing, of course, happening on Saturday. Encourage everyone to visit you. Give us a chance to let us know where you're going to be.
It's Books on Beechwood, which is an independent bookstore right across from the Metro on Beechwood. And it's from 1 to 3 tomorrow, March 25th, I think tomorrow is. Yes. And I will be there. I hope I don't have to bring my entire cheering squad, but
I'm sure
it's
they'll
not
be
that big a store. But we'll see. And it's one of, obviously, it's not enough in Canada for you to write a book. You then have to sell it.
Of course.
So I will also, I'm being in Victoria in April, so I will have a chance to do some book signings out in British Columbia as well. But it's just, it's for tomorrow. I'm hoping people who are interested in these questions will come and purchase a book and learn things, but also more importantly, I think once they've learned, will join in the debate and the discussion. It's absolutely essential that Canadians be there, because the truth of the matter is these decisions will be made whether or not we're at the table. So I'm really encouraging Canadians to read up on this and to be at that table so we have the best possible outcomes.
Maureen, always doing something incredible. This is just another thing to add to the list. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Sam, for having me.
Always a pleasure. Maureen McTeer spending time with us today, of course, lawyer, author, just an incredible woman. You can go and see her tomorrow at Beechwood Books. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Hi, I'm Justice. And I'm Nia. And we believe dreams fuel revolutions. That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support. Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
The regulars, the guys who keep this place in business. Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university, so they toasted his profs, his TAs, his old roommates. Well, they toasted just about everyone. But I worry about and take care of my guys. So even when I know they're not driving, sometimes that means bringing them a little surprise. And then they had a drink to me.
Brought to you by Smart Serve Ontario and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
Hey folks, it's me, Giovanni Patini, the host of the RTV quiz show, the hottest show on television. It's the hilarious quiz show where you, the viewers, play for valuable non-existent prizes. It's got great trivia, fun facts, and a lot of laughs, all blended together in a perfect cocktail of edutainment. So join us Wednesdays at 7:30 right here on Rogers TV. Nice.
Little brown girl, Hey, I'm Picasso in Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
Hi, I'm Justice. And I'm Nia. And we believe dreams fuel revolutions. That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support. Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
Number one for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It is Friday, March 24th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, under a special weather statement, it is 0. And here's what's making news this hour. Roadblocks are up in the downtown core today, and some people were asked to work from home in advance of the U.S. President Joe Biden arriving on Parliament Hill. One of the highlights of Biden's first official visit to Canada will be his speech in the House of Commons this afternoon. President Biden will also have closed-door meetings with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and federal cabinet ministers to discuss a wide range of issues, including green energy and collaboration on projects like electric vehicles, the war in Ukraine, and the gang crisis in Haiti. Canada is also pushing to have President Biden reconsider the Buy America doctrine. And Montreal police say they don't think they'll find more than 7 bodies in the rubble of an old Montreal building that caught fire 8 days ago. Police say they don't have reports of more people missing, adding that it's improbable there are more than 7 victims. Searchers have pulled 4 bodies from the rubble, and only 1 victim has been identified, a 76-year-old woman who had lived in the building for decades. Officials are working to identify the other 3. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. City News time is 11:33. I am Damilola Unime. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Big day yesterday at Queen's Park. We know all eyes were on that budget for Ontarians, a number of different associations obviously wanting to see how the Ford government tackled things like healthcare and education. And we wanted to get the thoughts today of Joel Harden, NDP MPP for Ottawa Centre. Hello, Joel.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Good. Big budget day yesterday. If you were grading the Ford government on this budget, what would you give them on this budget?
I used to grade papers for a living, Sam, so I'm going to try to be charitable here. I will give it a C minus.
Okay.
C minus.
So where does the C minus come from, Joel?
Okay, well, let me be an optimistic person and start with the good stuff first. So I'm happy that the Ford government, on a one-time basis in our city, and this is news your listeners probably don't know because you don't parse through all the specific expenses for the city, they have for a year given our harm reduction services at Somerset West Community Health Centre funding to ensure that over the weekend, our neighbors who suffer with addictions, who deal with behaviors, who are in trauma, having a difficult time, they have support workers we can call based at the Somerset West Community Health Centre who often themselves have been users previously, and they've become harm reduction workers. And what the research shows us is that when you bring those people to bear immediately to someone in crisis, there's an immediate connection, and that person is more likely to seek some help. And I get a lot of calls from small business owners in Ottawa Centre who report, petty theft and break-in, all kinds of violent behaviors given the toxic drug supply in our streets. So this is good news. It's good news for the Ottawa Police, who will not have to have officers called to situations like this. It's good news for small businesses in communities that have had negative experiences. And most importantly for me, it's good news for people suffering with addiction because it's a compassionate approach that I believe will save our city a lot of money. So I give the government credit for funding what's called the DOPE program, the assisted program that offers peer-to-peer support. I think that was a very good move. But the funding, Sam's only for 1 year. But you know what? I still think it's a win.
Okay. Where were the losses for you and from your perspective?
Oh boy, where to begin? Okay, well, I will say this. The Ottawa Carleton District School Board is telling us that there's a significant shortfall in funding for them. And on April 1st, all the children who are part of the Legacy Ontario Autism Program are officially aging out and moving into the public school system. So we want every kid to succeed, but we all know that some kids have unique challenges. There's many kinds of autistic children. It's a spectrum, but our schools are telling us they don't have the support they need to welcome these kids full-time into the classroom, and that is a big subject of concern for me. There still is at least a $15 billion capital repairs backlog in schools across Ontario. That's a big problem. Healthcare, the system is hugely strained. We have 500 vacancies of nurses at the Ottawa Hospital, and the Ford government's embarked on this. And you've heard me talk about it before, Sam, these for-profit clinics operating in the system that I think are a huge mistake. And I'll end on this. We could talk about a lot more, but I'll just say there is nothing in this budget to seriously help OC Transpo and public transit and other public transit users. We're facing a $37 million shortfall in Ottawa, and we need to get people on the bus, and we need to get the O train working. And what we know after yesterday is people are going to be waiting longer for the bus, and we need better. We need to make sure people use our system. It's a big way we can deal with climate change.
And so, and thank you for all that, Joel. When I noticed last night, I was reviewing some of the information coming out of the budget, and we know that the Conservatives are on a bit of a race to get us out of the red, which is a good thing, Joel. We want to be that. But at the end of the day, when I saw that, I thought, are we trying to do that too quickly? Because it seems like a lot of the programs, or the whether it be education or healthcare, don't have that infusion that I think a lot of people were looking for yesterday. So are we trying to get out of this deficit at the peril of Ontarians?
Well, what I say to Conservative colleagues all the time is, I believe in a balanced budget. I believe in making sure we use the people's money wisely. But what I don't like is a province where billionaires like Galen Weston have special access to selling government programs through Shoppers Drug Mart and other things, all kinds of subsidies, directly and indirectly, getting all kinds of support, whereas the average person in this province is suffering because of how expensive everything is. Mm-hmm. So I'm always telling them, look, nobody disagrees with the idea of using the people's money wisely, but this government has cut $7 billion in revenue. Sometimes I believe irresponsibly. The license plate sticker thing, the WSIB cuts to huge employers like Home Depot and Loblaws and whatnot. I mean, I think this is just burning through public money. And we need that money, Sam. There is as Ed Broadbent always told me, there's a direct line between the money we take in taxes and the services people can expect. And if we're cutting revenue, not just for people in direct financial need, but cutting revenue for billionaires like Galen Weston, there's a price to be paid at the hospital. There's a price to be paid in the longer wait for a bus or the support your kid gets at school. So I really believe we have to manage the money of this province responsibly, but it's time to ask people who have done very, very well, hiking up grocery prices like Mr. Weston has done. It's time to ask him to pay a fair share so we can actually make sure everybody has an opportunity to succeed.
And I think, and thank you for that. I think, anybody that's experienced anything in terms of healthcare, interestingly enough, this week my mom had a bad fall, so we ended up at the QCH, I really saw firsthand what is being asked of nurses. I think any place you walk into that's providing healthcare, and of course an emergency room that has a sign that immediately you're greeted with, this will be an 8-hour plus wait. We know that there's a system. I mean, they have these signs made up. These aren't handwritten signs. These are signs that have got Velcro backing, and they're taking it off and saying, it's 8 hours, it's 6 hours, it's 10 hours. I mean, this is the reality of the system. And then when you look around, and because you're waiting there I think we were about 7 or 8 hours. I think when you look around and you see what nurses are going through, you can understand why some are maybe a little bit agitated, maybe a little bit don't want to continue with this career, because there's just people coming in and so many of those people, because you could hear, of course, as you know, you can hear questions that are being asked of other patients there. Do you have a family doctor? I can't tell you how many times I heard that night that people didn't have family doctors, Joel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is everything you're describing, Sam. What I would encourage all of us to remember is that it's not normal. It's not normal. The pandemic flipped a lot of things over and was really challenging. But the environment we're living in now, despite the pandemic, Sam, it is not normal. It is not normal to have 158 emergency room closures in 2022. That's the number. A normal year would be 10. But the province, and this is the decision they're making, they are basically flatlining funding coming from the legislature, and because of general growth, they'll say, it's bigger than ever before. But you have to keep up with an inflationary environment. We have to make sure the spending is going in commensurate with the inflationary environment. We're holding back nurses' wages with Bill 124. They're fighting nurses in court and other health professionals. All of this has a toll, right? But I just want your listeners to know it's not normal. And we will be going back to the legislature next week debating this budget, and we're going to be making the case, like when the government has billions of dollars in unallocated funds they've promised to spend that they haven't spent, when they have a contingency fund of $4 billion, that money should be going into our schools and hospitals. My goodness. So your mom's experience and the folks out there, clamoring for a primary care person, whether that's a nurse practitioner or a family doc, get the support they need. It's not normal. We don't have to accept this. The government's making the choice, and it's their right to make. They got elected to move towards more private for-profit care. I don't think it's the right choice.
Because
so we're going to be going there next week to make sure they're pressed hard.
And you could hear people. I mean, my mom being one of them, she was like, well, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to go, and be in that lineup. And, and here's, and that's that's the generational thing too, Joel. It's just that, older people sometimes don't want to be doing that kind of thing. But you could hear that throughout the room. People didn't want to be another person in the system. And that's not the healthcare system that, a woman in her 80s has come to expect. So I think you're bang on in terms of trying to find some more dollars to put into these nurses. And the fact, honestly, I mean, Joel, how many times have we talked about Bill 124? I mean, how the government has not just said this is not working for Ontarians.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to pay eventually, Sam. Like, we do live in a democracy with the rule of law. They're going to lose this court case. It's already been deemed unconstitutional. So the price tag could be as much as $8 billion is what I'm hearing. And they drag it out in court. It makes no sense.
What's the $8 billion? Sorry, walk me back.
Well, I mean, what the estimate that I've been reading from progressive researchers, if you count when Bill 124 came into effect early in this government's term, right? And you count how much compensation was lost because employee groups were not allowed to bargain beyond the 1% limit. And if an arbitrator were to assess what would a reasonable settlement be, if you add all that up, it could be as much. By the time they lose in court, ultimately, they've already lost, but by the time their appeal's lost, $8 billion.
Oh, that they will have to pay eventually when it all comes to... I get what you're saying,
This is not a dictatorship. Like, they can't avoid having to pay. Like, the nurses and the other employee groups are being represented by good legal staff. But do you know what? I'd rather we all spend a lot less on lawyers. I'd rather, if Mr. Weston's company, Loblaws, has a 40% profit, and other countries are telling their grocery chains that are hiking up prices, well, hold on a second. We're going to ask you to pay a special pandemic profiteering levy so our healthcare systems and our education systems don't suffer. I want the Conservative government to do that. I want to believe that a Bill Davis Conservative would do that. It's only fair. It's not left or right. It's like, let's look around and just say from a standpoint of fairness, the system can't be on its knees. We can't have a healthcare system on its knees. And then we can't have the answer cannot be, oh, well, let's quote unquote innovate, pay nurses twice as much to work in this for-profit system. And as I was saying this week, have cancer patients potentially getting bumped or waited for life-saving care. I mean, this is nuts. So we're going to keep a very short leash on the government. That's our job. And I welcome for all your listeners, if you're waiting for surgery, if you've got a particular concern, please hit me up. Please send me a message. I will bring that message to the legislature to make sure the government knows this is not normal and we can do better.
Well, I know you've got a busy week ahead, getting ready already to be heading back to Queen's Park. Thank you so much, Joel, for your time.
It's great to be with you, and give my best to your mom, okay?
Will do, Joel. Thank you. Joel Harden, NDP MPP for Ottawa Centre. Joel just made my mom's day. She'll just be thrilled to hear from him. When we come back, Keith Whittier's going to be here. It's Friday. What do we do on Fridays? We talk all things movies. Lock it in to City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, I show you how to fill your freezer with 8 different meals for the next time you're in a pinch.
On Friday's Daytime Ottawa, we'll introduce you to publicist and author Charles Mwewa and talk about his collection of books. We'll also tell you about Le Chemin de Outaouais. It is a really exciting thing, and you're going to want to tune in to hear that. And the Spring Festival, the Sugar Festival, is back again this year. It took a hiatus for 4 years, but we're going to talk everything sweet, all that and more on Friday's Daytime Ottawa.
When an impaired driver killed my brother DJ, my life changed forever. During the pandemic, all of our lives changed, and many of us turned to alcohol and drugs to cope. As life returns to normal, The increase in substance use from COVID has lingered, and some police services report an increase in impaired driving that caused heartbreak and devastation. Now, more than ever, we need your commitment to never drive impaired and to encourage all of your family and friends to do the same. Together, we can save lives.
Hi, I'm Julian Armour from Music and Beyond. Join us for a new show this spring on Rogers called Music and Beyond Presents.
Here comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season?
Another highlight reel goal.
Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play! Steps one up, scores!
He is making a statement, isn't he?
Oh, that's a beauty of a shot from the freshman.
The OHL playoffs.
What a goal!
On Rogers TV.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, when I think about Keith Whittier, I think a little chocolate and I think a little peanut butter. Now, both are fine on their own, but when they're together, they're better. So we're like chocolate and peanut butter. We're better together, Keith.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Perfect. So I have missed you over the last couple of weeks.
You know, Sam, I missed you too. No disrespect to Derek, who did a fantastic job filling in. Top rate, great guy. But there's I love having the opportunity to chat with you, Ottawa's number one, philanthropic individual. This person with this incredible heart. Although I have to say, I was a little sad. I was at the NAC the other night, and I didn't see you. Was everything okay?
Well, I was incredibly sad to not be there. I really wanted to be there for Aladdin, and unfortunately, we missed Aladdin. Tell me all about it. Was it fantastic?
The show was very well done. I really enjoyed it. And I'm in the car driving home, listening to the old Peeble, Bryce, and Regina Bell, A Whole New World, which is just such a fantastic duet. But
That's awesome. And Aladdin's still playing through to the weekend. It's the beautiful NAC, of course. Broadway across Canada brings these great shows, and lots to come. Lots of exciting shows coming up as well.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We're getting a lot of great shows, and a lot of people might not know this, but Aladdin's one of the top 10 Broadway shows from a revenue standpoint of all time. Wow. I didn't realize that. Wow. I usually think like Lion King and what have you, but yeah, Aladdin's right up there.
My daughter and I saw it in New York City, and we loved it. We were so looking forward to it. It didn't happen. But Keith, you've got lots of great movies to talk about this week. We're going to start with John Wick 4.
A new day is dawning. New ideas, new rules, new management.
We've known each other since we were 9.
Who is this? The Marquis de Gramont. Challenge him to single combat. Win or lose, it's a way out. I don't sit at the table. Your family does.
Please pray for me.
Okay, now I want to see this. Is it good?
It is so good.
Oh, good.
Okay, so Keanu Reeves, we look at a guy who is known as being one of the friendliest celebrities you can come across, who's had an outstanding career. I mean, for movies like Speed and Point Break, of course, to the Matrix series, and now with this series in John Wick. This is a really great vehicle for him because, respectfully, he's never in the discussion in terms of, greatest actors of all time, right? However, they've taken a role where you don't necessarily need to be, the strongest dialogue-driven actor, and it just really suits him. There'll be like these periods where people are asking him these long-winded questions. There'll be this dramatic pause, and then he'll just go, yeah, like it just works, right?
Right.
So if you're not familiar with the John Wick series, this John Wick is an ex-hitman who was enjoying his retirement until some people wronged him, which we were introduced to in the first film. Every film blends into the next one, which is wonderful and great from a binging standpoint. And in this, as the trailer alludes to, we've got this person who sits at the quote-unquote head of the table who wants John Wick killed. And now, of course, John Wick is doing everything he can to stop that. This is a pure adrenaline action film. It is very entertaining. The action sequences, which come fast and furious, are choreographed exceptionally well. I can tell you there was a previous installment, I'm not sure which one it was, where some of the fight scenes, the choreography seemed a little labored and seemed a little forced. They've made vast improvements. I don't feel that that's the case here. The casting is great. In addition to Keanu Reeves, they've brought in one of the top action stars from China, and Donnie Yen, who's fantastic in this film. Ian McShane, of course, brings a lot of dignity to the film as well, playing Winston. And one of the things I like about this, as crazy as it sounds, these are kind of like polite killers in the sense of they all have a code, they all have rules that they abide by. Ian McShane's character never refers to him as John Wick. He's always Jonathan, which just makes it just so distinguished. Kind of like when my brother went through a phase where we had to call him Christopher. It's like, okay, Chris, whatever. But this movie's really fun. I think this is probably one of the best action movies that I've seen in a long time. Definitely needs to be seen in a theater.
Okay.
And at just under 3 hours, it didn't feel like it.
Okay, good to know. Hey, maybe I should go to. I'm going to go to a movie this weekend. I think it's going to be John Wick.
I think you should.
What about Inside?
When I was a kid, my teacher asked me what I would save from my house if it were on fire. I answered my sketchbook, my AC/DC album, and my cat Groucho. I didn't mention my parents or my sister. Does that make me a bad person? Cats die. Music fades. But art is for keeps.
I'm convinced you try to do this to me once a week, and that is scare the bejesus out of me. What is this movie about?
It is a scary sounding trailer, but it's not necessarily a scary movie unless you're planning on burglarizing a New York penthouse.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
In this film, Willem Dafoe is our main and pretty much only star because essentially it's a one-man show. He comes into this film and he's a burglar and he's an art thief. So he breaks into this lavish penthouse and he's looking to steal multiple pieces of art, but then things don't go his way and he ends up being locked in this penthouse. And not just locked in for a couple of hours, locked in for like a significant period of time. And he's basically now trying to, keep his sanity as he's locked in this place. He has no way of getting out. He has no way of phoning anybody to come and get him out because, of course, he's in this secured building that he's broken into. So it's a really interesting character-driven story where essentially you're seeing Willem Dafoe on screen by himself for pretty much the majority of this film. So there's a couple of ways that you can look at it. You can look at it from the standpoint of what a strong, performance, what a strong, one-person show and watching how somebody can start to, unravel under certain circumstances. But realistically, the way that you're most likely going to look at it is you're going to look at your watch and say, that's about 2 hours I could have had back. I think if you're going to fall asleep watching this movie, which with all due respect you will most likely do, probably better to do it at home watching it on Netflix as opposed to going and doing it in a theater. I think Willem Dafoe is a fantastic actor. You can look as recently back as the Florida Project to see how incredible he is. Mm-hmm. And I think his performance in this is good. I just don't think it's a very good movie.
Okay. Well, yeah. And honestly, that's why I love having you on, Keith, is because you tell me where I should spend my time and maybe what I should avoid, which is always good. I look forward to next week. Are you able to join us next week?
Unfortunately, no. Next week I'm away, but I'll be back the week after that.
Okay, fantastic. I will just hold my breath until then. Keith Whittier, thanks so much for everything you do. Movie reviewer, heck of a nice guy. Thanks so much, Keith. Appreciate your time today. Keith joins us here every Friday to talk about all things movies. I don't know about you, but I'm getting ready for lunch. I'm a little hungry today for those big topics of the day. Maria McRae is going to join us, former city councillor for River Ward, and former Ottawa Mayor Larry O'Brien will join us as well. And boy, do we have lots to talk about. We're going to be talking, of course, about the presidential visit of Joe Biden. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ford government and the budget that they just proposed. And we're going to talk a little Zellers. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the community billboard.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 101.1 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number one for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's 12 o'clock. Good afternoon on this Friday, March the 24th. I'm Mark Day. Right now in Ottawa and Smiths Falls, we have some sunshine and +1. Here's what's making news right now. The U.S. president has arrived on Parliament Hill for the formal portion of his state visit to our nation's capital. It's a jam-packed scheduled day filled with meetings and an address to Parliament, where we're just learning of some special guests who will be there. City News Parliament Hill Bureau Chief Cormac McSweeney has the latest.
I've been able to confirm that the two Michaels, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, who were jailed in China for nearly 3 years over the arrest in Vancouver of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou, will be in attendance for Biden's address to Parliament, an interesting development given the controversy around Chinese interference and security concerns. Now, I'm currently standing in the room where President Joe Biden will be signing the guest list for the House of Commons and the Senate. The red carpet is rolled out here, and Canadian and American flags line the halls. A part of the delegation as well are the opposition leaders and the speakers of both houses. Now, after that, it's up to the Prime Minister's office, where the two leaders will have a private meeting and discuss issues like critical minerals, supply chain issues, Buy American policies, and the crisis in Haiti. It could be where they finalize a reported agreement on irregular migration. Reports say our two countries have made a breakthrough on this issue to extend the Safe Third Country Agreement across our entire border, giving border agents essentially the power to turn asylum seekers away if they're trying to enter either country from the other. There may also be a deal today on fast-tracking NORAD modernization. Now, after the address to Parliament today from Biden, he'll be having an official state dinner, and then he'll wrap things up heading to the airport and jumping back on Air Force One. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Well, the issue of migration will be on the agenda, and the two leaders expected to announce that agreement has been reached. That would see asylum seekers turn back at irregular border crossings like Roxham Road. Or Laura Carney has more.
This deal agreed to in principle will see a loophole closed in the current Safe Third Country agreement and would allow both countries to turn away asylum seekers at unofficial border crossings. As CNN's chief White House correspondent Phil Mattingly reports, there's been a lot of tension surrounding this agreement because of an influx of asylum seekers entering Canada through Roxham Road on the Quebec-New York border.
It's caused significant domestic political problems for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. In exchange, Canada has agreed to create a refugee program for about 15,000 migrants that would come up for the U.S. side of things.
The change would apply across the entire Canada-United States border. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President Joe Biden are expected to formally announce the deal today. Laura Carney, City News.
Lots of road closures still in effect. Most of those closed roads are in the downtown area, so if you're able to avoid the core, you should until tonight. Other affected routes are the Aviation Parkway, the Airport Parkway, and also Bronson Avenue. Some of those road closures will remain in effect until 11 o'clock tonight. Now with the forecast for Ottawa and the Valley, here's our weather specialist, John Wilson.
Cloud with sunny periods this afternoon, and the guaranteed high is 3. But our attention turns to tomorrow with a special weather statement and snow coming with a fairly strong disturbance roaring through the Great Lakes. This will have snow in front of it. We'll get 5 to 7 centimeters. I think the Gatineaus get 10 tomorrow, and 1 degree with a strong south wind, 60 gusting maybe up to 80 clicks an hour. Sunday quiets down with showers or flurries or both, and 4. Monday sunny and 5. Today's guaranteed high 3.
And right now in Ottawa and Smiths Falls, some sunshine and 1. I'm Mark Day. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, it's lunchtime, everybody. We're getting ready for the big topics of the day. We've invited a couple of people in to have lunch with us. But we're also getting ready for the OBJ business lunch when we talk about all things business. We're going to be talking about a little beer during the business lunch. But we wanted to invite a couple of people in right now, a couple of names that I know you know. And one of them, of course, Maria McRae, former city councillor for River Ward. Welcome to lunch, my friend.
Thank you, Sam. Looking forward to a delightful panel.
Well, it is delightful because, of course, Larry O'Brien's here. Larry, would you describe yourself as delightful?
No, but I will describe Maria as delightful, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Absolutely. Larry O'Brien, of course, former Ottawa mayor. Have you been together on a lunch with me before?
Never.
Okay, we're breaking all the rules today. I love it. Lots to talk about today. Larry, did you get your invite for the big presidential gala tonight?
Tragically, I did not.
No. Maria, was yours lost in the mail as well?
Lost in the mail as well.
Mm-hmm. Big visit, of course. We know President Joe Biden arrived yesterday with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. A big day today. We know that Mr. Biden has just arrived at Parliament Hill. He's getting ready to make some remarks a little bit later today. What are your expectations from this meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Biden, Maria?
Well, I think first and foremost, we talk about the economy, and we look at the fact that the United States is our greatest ally, and there's some discussion about the mineral sector, for example, and having grown up in Sudbury, thinking about mining and things like that, very important to me. Discussions, obviously, about immigration and looking at some of those, what they call, I guess, irregular pathways for some of the migrants who are coming to Canada, and just in general, discussing ways that our economy can benefit by partnering better with the United States. And I know that there will be discussions, from what I've read, looking at technology for electric vehicles, for example.
It's going to be an interesting discussion, and I had a big long list yesterday during the talkback hour of all the topics that we thought would come up, and Haiti's one of them that keeps coming to the forefront. We think President Biden will put more pressure on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to have a peacekeeping role in Haiti. Do you think that will be top of mind, Larry?
Yeah, I think that'll be one of the issues. Certainly, President Biden is looking for a leader. I don't think he wants to do a joint or multi-force. I think he wants one country to lead, and I think he's putting the touch on our Prime Minister right now to do that. But, in that line, he's also, this week we also announced that there would be a major expansion of Dwyer Hill to the tune of $1.8 billion for our JTF2 groups. But I think the other secret little discussion that will be had that will be very important is the upgrading of the North Warning System, or the NORAD. And I think that's going to be very touchy, because for Canada to truly protect North America, they're going to have to put some active missiles along our north border in order to be able to shoot down some of those hypersonic missiles that the Russians and the Chinese now have. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come out of the defense sector during this meeting. And I think Canada normally fights above its weight, and I don't expect them to do any less on this particular trip.
And we just heard from our parliamentary reporter, Cormac McSweeney, that there's some special guests today during President Joe Biden's visit. And interesting, I find this so fascinating that Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, of course, the two known as the two Michaels, served time under no charges in China for very long, brought back here to Canada. All the discussions right now, Maria, regarding potential foreign interference in our elections, particularly China, but of course also looking to maybe a bad actor like Russia. This is really interesting to see that the two Michaels are present for today's presidential talk at Parliament Hill.
Well, it's certainly symbolic. And if you look at some of the information that came out yesterday, the allegations that there was even a Canadian involved in suggesting that the two Michaels not get released at certain times for political reasons, definitely that would spark the interest of a lot of people, I think, to see those two at that dinner tonight.
Very, very interesting. And Larry, when you think about all the migration issues and Roxham Road and all of the challenges that we see, people fleeing for various reasons. We know the people of Turkey, obviously. We know people in Afghanistan hoping to come to Canada. So many people, and people from Haiti, trying to find their way to Canada. And many of them are being told Roxham Road is the way. This will be definitely top of mind today as well.
I think you're absolutely right, and certainly we put 1 million additional people into Canada last year through our official immigration policy, and so we're again as a country fighting well above our weight in terms of accepting immigrants that have been screened appropriately, and I think we're doing our thing here in Canada very very well in terms of opening our arms to people from other countries, and we shouldn't be distracted by the 20 or 30,000 people that kind of try to sneak across the border. I think we have to keep to our official policies, and that will serve our country and our citizens very well.
Mm-hmm. I had a brilliant professor on yesterday, I believe from Queen's University, talking about, the root causes. Often we think about, and it's just so heartbreaking, Maria, to see people dragging their suitcase across that path and into Canada. That's, the root causes of why people are coming need to be addressed, and the way she explained it so much more beautifully than I am, but those root causes tend not to be looked at. It tends to be just dealing with the person or persons in front of you, sometimes with babes in arms. Those are really visuals that are so difficult to see, because that those families have left so much behind. They've got everything in a wheelie suitcase, and they're looking for hope at the other end.
Well, certainly the visuals are hard to watch, and you can look at the same thing happen in Italy when you looked at the illegal migrants coming and things happening with the boats washing ashore. But Larry is 100% correct. Canada is doing a lot to deal with immigration. We know as a country we need to, and we want to welcome new Canadians. All of us are new Canadians at some point to bolster our economy, to build a stronger Canada. And he's right. Some of these people that are either sneaking across the border or using these so-called irregular places to cross the border border need to go through the proper channels. It's important that we have appropriate screening, and yes, it's tragic to look at some of the situations we see, but we have good policies in place for those kinds of refugees as well. So it may take a little longer, let's say, to become a naturalized citizen, but certainly our country, you know, we open our arms. You look at the not-for-profit groups when refugees come, and their calls out for clothing and food and whatnot. So as Canadians, we're more than happy to do our share.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears a little bit. We know, of course, everybody's excited about the visit of President Biden, but all eyes for Ontarians, a lot of them were thinking towards Queen's Park yesterday, because that budget, of course, brought down by the Ford government, proposed, and obviously next week at Queen's Park, lots of debate around that. Was this budget that the Ford government presented in the best interest of Ontarians, Larry?
Absolutely. I think it was, the fact that they were able to balance the budget 3 years earlier than they had anticipated they would be able to do is wonderful news. Not because of what's actually in the budget, but I think Maria will understand that anytime you can balance a budget, it means you have some money on the sidelines that you haven't told anybody about. So I think this will be great news for healthcare, great news for transit. They had $70 billion in there for healthcare. I think there's a little bit more on the sidelines that we don't know about yet. So I think this was a really good news budget for the people of Ontario, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with their continued surpluses over the next 3 years.
Maria, same question to you. Was this in the best interest of Ontarians, this budget?
So to build on what Larry said, he's right. When you see a balanced budget, you know that there's money on the side. And so, for example, you look at people complaining about the hole that's in the OC Transpo budget for Ottawa. I know from experience, and Larry can speak as well, having done probably many meetings as mayor with the premiers in the past, that money eventually does come through, but there have to be certain milestones that are met. And definitely one thing I liked about the budget was giving more powers to the pharmacists for prescribing for common things that you wouldn't necessarily have to go see a doctor for. And already my understanding is that a lot of Ontarians have taken advantage of that. There's a lot of money for healthcare. We know that we want our seniors to age in place, and part of that is a lot of surgeries are happening. I mean, I have friends that are in their 50s, early 60s, having hip replacements, knee replacements. So that's always a good sign as well. And you know, you can't always be all things to everybody. But at the end of the day, to get your fiscal house in order is important. And certainly if you look at the fact there could be a recession or a small one still to come, it's always good to know that the government of the day is balancing their books.
I appreciate the thoughts there. Certainly one of the things, and maybe it's just because I just spent 8 hours in the ER with my mom, talking about healthcare, seeing the strain on some of those nurses. I would have liked to see more of an infusion. I'd like to see Bill 124 go away. I would like to see some more money for education. We know that the Ottawa Carleton District School Board is $9 million short. It's going to mean a lot of cuts. So we're going to be watching this very closely. I'm all for a balanced budget too. Don't get me wrong. But coming out of a pandemic, I'm just wondering if this was too much too soon. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. When we come back, Maria McRae is going to stay with us. Larry O'Brien's going to stay with us. You're going to stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Here comes the 67. He scores! How's that for your first of the season? Oh! Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play!
67's action on Rogers TV.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi, Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
Here comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season? Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play! Steps one, scores!
He is making a statement, isn't he?
Oh, that's a beauty of a shot from the freshman.
The OHL playoffs.
What a goal!
On Rogers TV.
On the next Fit Over 50, join us for leg strength and balance. Can't wait to see you then. Namaste.
Hi, I'm Justice. And I'm Nia. And we believe dreams fuel revolutions. That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support.
Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, everybody, it's lunchtime, and we always love inviting community leaders in to have lunch with us today. We are feasting on some very big topics today. Larry O'Brien is here, former Ottawa mayor, and Maria McRae, former city councillor for River Ward. Maria, I just realized you and Larry worked together, right?
We did.
Did you have a lot of fun?
You know, we did. Sometimes, obviously, there were issues we didn't always agree on. Often we did. You look back at that term of council, so many city building projects. But I wonder, Sam, if I could tell a quick story about Larry, how fun he is.
Yes, of course.
So,
wait, hold on. Do I get to veto this? Or
It won't be bad. So my mom's a knitter, and my mom and dad would come from Sudbury often to visit, and they would always go to council chambers if council was going on. So at one point, I think we had just finished the lunch break and we're coming back, and my mom was sitting in the audience knitting. So with the approval of the mayor, I asked the head of corporate security and the clerk at the time, who were really good guys that were up for a joke, could they go play a joke on my mom? And they suggested, well, why don't we have her thrown out because she has knitting needles with her. So they went up into the gallery and they told my mom, ma'am, you can't sit here. And they knew her quite well. You know, You've got these weapons and whatnot. So it's kind of funny. And they couldn't keep a straight face towards the end. But it was one of those moments where you look back, very harmless fun. Yeah. And my mom actually knit the former mayor a toque. I don't know, Larry, if you remembered that.
I do.
A beautiful red toque, eh?
I think that was beautiful. I had forgotten about that, but as you reminded me, there was so many wonderful things, and I actually had forgotten just how clever and insightful you are, Maria. So I'm just glad that we were able to reconnect, with Sam here.
Absolutely. She's a smart one for sure. And Maria, that's why I want your thoughts as well. We know that Mayor Mark Sutcliffe this week talked about the new arena proposed for LeBreton Flats. We don't have a new owner of the Ottawa Senators yet, and the mayor really said, until we're all at the table, and the table isn't even built yet, we can't really have these discussions. But he certainly seemed open to talking about maybe some creative ways that the city can be involved in terms of the new arena. Should there be any funding, any portion of the new LeBreton Flats arena, should it come to fruition from city coffers, in your mind, Maria?
So if I were on council today, I would absolutely vote yes in favor of some support from the city. And definitely there would have to be some strict agreements in place, no relocation terms, for example. I would want to see an NHL draft take place, obviously an all-star game. So there would have to be a lot of concessions, because at the end of the day, if you look across North America, many, many arenas are either being refurbed or built with some portion of financial support, either direct cash or it could be in the form of some sort of tax benefit. And if you look at the local benefits during construction, they're remediating that horrible site, turning a landfill into a landmark, if you will. And certainly when you look at the economic potential, when you have a good arena in a place that's close to public transit with many people that'll live within walking distance, it's a great thing. And the bottom line is that we are a big city, and we will attract more than 41 local hockey games a year if we have that arena. I mean, you look at the past, we've had U2, all kinds of great acts. The Rolling Stones have come, and the list goes on.
Absolutely. If you were still in the big chair, Larry, if you were still the mayor of this city and this proposal came your way, would you support city money going into this project at LeBreton Flats?
Two answers to that question. One is yes, I would support it, but two, I would advise them to stay the heck away from the city administration and the bureaucrats. Maria, you remember the complicated agreements we put together for Lansdowne Park. If I was a businessman thinking about buying us the Ottawa Senators and putting them downtown, I would accept whatever money came without any strings attached, but I would walk away from anything that brought the city of Ottawa's administration to have any control over what I wanted to do with the hockey team. And that's just as a businessman. I would say, no, I don't want to have, I would highly recommend that they stay away from city money. But if there was a way of doing it, if some clever person like Maria could figure out how to do it without curtailing their flexibility of running a business, then absolutely my vote would be a yes too.
And Maria, let me ask you this: we know that this council has been in office since I guess mid-November. How do you feel they've done so far, Maria?
So they seem to be doing okay. Larry will tell you, once you're there, it's a very difficult job, and it's very easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, if you will, and criticize from the sidelines. So I think I'm a little more sympathetic having been there. One thing I like is to see the mayor is very open about issues, and when he speaks about things, there's so much positive energy, I find, even when he's talking about negative things that he can't deliver. But I like the fact that we don't see as much publicly, at least, of some of the infighting that had been going on in previous years. But I am looking forward to seeing this council talk about big picture vision, and that will come, I hope. I remember Larry hosted some excellent sessions when we were on council to look at what can we do over the term of council, not just the things we have to do, like snow removal, that sort of thing, but what's the vision for the city? And if you look back at that term of office, I mean, we finished building the convention center, we refurbed Lansdowne Park, we had a new rail system ready to go, that sort of thing. So I want to see some sort of city building as well. It's not enough just to look after the day-to-day. These are city councilors. Tell me about city building.
Larry,
Maria, you're so right, because we did our term of council. We actually took, the whole group of us wanted to do some things that would change the city, because it had been sitting in a state it was paralyzed for the previous 10 or 15 years. Things just didn't seem to. There were a lot of things ready to go, but they just couldn't get started. And I think we've had the same thing for the last 8 or 10 years as well. So I agree with you. I think we have to get the big city building projects on the table, get some imagination going, and hey, Maria, maybe we should go back.
Is this an official announcement here on City News, you two?
No.
That would be fantastic. Let's end our lunch today. As sad as it is, it always goes by so fast with you two, but end our lunch today on a bit of a sweet note. Let's talk a little bit about Zellers. Is Zellers on your shopping list, Maria, this week?
So I won't be attending a Zellers store this week, but I will tell you, the Bay was having some great sales, and I did peek on the Zellers website, because they now on the Bay website have a link. You can go right and have a look at things. So I'm more curious than anything.
And Larry, do you have your Club Z card out? Are you heading to Zellers?
For it. I am absolutely looking for it.
There you go.
I probably will not be going to Zellers this week, but I don't go to shopping centers very often. I don't like shopping, but I do have a fond childhood memory of going to buy for 2 or 3 years in a row. I'd buy my mother her Christmas present at Zellers, and I would take the bus down to Zellers, and I'd buy something that, if I had $2 or $3, and that was a lot of money back, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And buy a present from my mom for Christmas. So Zellers certainly has a place in my heart.
Well, I don't know how you did it. You've just got me tearing up over Zellers, Larry. I mean, that's a beautiful story. That's lovely. That's lovely. I love hearing stories like that. Maria, there's so much going on in our city this weekend, and I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to, I know how hard you work, get a chance to enjoy everything the city has to offer. And Larry as well, hope you're going to be out and about and seeing everybody as we say goodbye to President Biden tonight and wish him well.
Absolutely. Hopefully we won't get that big dump of snow like they're predicting. I've had enough of snow.
I've had enough of snow too. Larry, are you in the city or are you still in Florida?
No, I'm in the city right
now.
Tragically, I am back.
You're back. Well, you're going to experience some snow, I think. Thank you so much to both of you for spending time with us today. Maria McRae, former city councillor for River Ward. Always appreciate her thoughts, as well as Larry O'Brien, appreciate his thoughts as well. Former Ottawa mayor, lots to talk about on the lunch today. We are getting ready for the OBJ Business Lunch. The Ottawa Business Journal, of course, a great resource for all things business. So is the Business Lunch. When we come back, we're going to talk about a proposal in regards to the National Capital Commission. This is a really interesting one. And then we're going to talk a little beer. And when we talk beer, well, we ask Mark Plant from Stray Dog Brewery to join us. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Little brown girl, little brown girl. Hey, I'm Picasso in Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. You can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Once upon a time, in a nursery rhyme, there were 3 bears. 1, 2, 3 bears. And they went a-walking in the cool woods a-talking while their porridge began.
Rogers TV invites you to let your imagination roam as we present Ottawa Storytellers. Each week we'll present a collection of original creative stories and inspirations for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Justice.
And I'm Nia. And we believe dreams fuel revolutions.
That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support.
Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
One for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
And good afternoon. It's 12:30 on this Friday, 24th of March. I'm Mark Day. Right now, some sunshine in Ottawa and it's one in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news right now. U.S. President Joe Biden is spending the day on Parliament Hill for several high-level meetings and a speech to the House of Commons. Biden and the Prime Minister are also planning a joint news conference this afternoon that will cover a wide range of issues, ranging from natural resources to immigration to the war in Ukraine. This evening, Biden and his wife will be honored at a gala dinner. Other guests will include Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, the two Canadians imprisoned in China for nearly 3 years. They have just arrived on Parliament Hill. Road closures still in effect for parts of the city today. Most of the closed roads are in the downtown core, so if you're able to avoid that area, you should do that until tonight. Other affected routes are the Aviation Parkway, the Airport Parkway, and also Bronson Avenue. Some of the road closures will remain in effect until after the president leaves Ottawa tonight. That's after 11 o'clock. The biggest increase in Canada's alcohol tax in more than 40 years is expected to come into effect next month, with increased expected to affect Ontario. The Liquor Control Board of Ontario customers may experience a price increase on select products by the end of April if manufacturers pass along the federal tax increase. For example, it says a 750 millimeter bottle or a six-pack of beer may increase by about 5 to 10 cents, while a bottle of hard alcohol could increase as much as 70 cents. Alcohol beverage prices rose 5.7% in February compared with a year before, according to Statistics Canada. I'm Mark Day for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Business Lunch on City News, brought to you by the Ottawa Business Journal.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, this is when we talk about all things business. And business just intersects every part of our lives. And we've got a couple of really interesting topics today. This is a fascinating one for me because, of course, I love everything at the Mackenzie King Estate. We wanted to speak today with Christopher Hetherington, Chief of Property Management, Leasing and Projects at the NCC. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. I'm sure you love Mackenzie King Estate like I do in beautiful Gatineau Park's Chelsea sector. It's just such a gem up there.
Absolutely. I live in Chelsea, so I take advantage quite often.
Oh, wow. I would love to live in Chelsea. That sounds dreamy. So give us a sense of what you're looking for, because you're looking for a very special partner. Tell us for what project?
Yeah. So we've had an initiative since 2019 with 3 NCC bistros already. We've partnered with local restaurant entrepreneurs who operate kind of bistros in urban parks. And effectively what we're looking for is a partner to come and operate at a wonderful site, take advantage of panoramic views, and enjoy the site.
And so what would you want them to do? Operate this sort of bistro for people to be able to enjoy? I'm thinking about a lot of families up there, and this would be sort of dining options then?
Correct, yeah. So this would actually be the only food service available in Mackenzie King. It would be operated out of the former tea room, which is a fantastic site. Indoor, outdoor seating, and we're looking for a partner to come up and operate a food concession, grab and go. It could be sit down as well, but really just offer that to the clients and patrons of Mackenzie King Estate.
And when would this be, Christopher? Is this only certain times of the year? Is this year round?
Yeah, so primarily you would operate from May into October. Probably the busiest season actually is Fall Rhapsody, as you can imagine, with everybody coming up to enjoy the leaves and the changing the colors. So that's effectively when it would operate during those months, with the busiest time being in the fall.
So what's ideal for you here, Christopher? Is it somebody that maybe already operates a restaurant and this would be a part of that conglomerate, or are you thinking about somebody that maybe is doing some catering? I mean, who's the ideal partner here?
Okay, so the ideal partner, it could be both. So we're very much open to proposals at this point. We are looking for somebody that has some restaurant operations experience, obviously, someone that has that customer service feel. We do require everything to be bilingual, so that's signage, goods and services, etc., menu offerings, etc. We also encourage sustainable initiatives, so associated with the lease premise. So obviously recycling, composting, the use of glassware, etc. Those are types of things that we're looking for, and something to be appropriate for the site. The site is a very special site. It's deep and rich in history, and someone to take that on and really, really enjoy it with us.
Absolutely, and as I think about the William Lyon Mackenzie King, who obviously owned this property for close to 50 years, it really is making sure that the legacy is aligned with that branding as well, right?
100%. Gatineau Park does a wonderful job of keeping that history there. We've got the museum attached to the building as well. And being the only food and beverage site, it's going to create a bit of a hub. And we've got additional services there with rental bikes coming this summer. So it's going to be a nice little setting, very romantic, beautiful heritage ruins, flower gardens, etc. It'll be wonderful.
And would there be opportunities to host events there, or is this just kind of for people visiting that area?
No, so the proponent will have the opportunity to have events. Obviously, it will be sequenced with events at Gatineau Park. We're very much open to different types of events, whether they're daytime weddings, maybe it's yoga retreats. Very much open to anything that would come our way.
Well, that sounds exciting. And the process, walk me through sort of a timeline here.
Yeah, so there's an RFP on the street right now for Mackenzie King Estate. I'm sure you've been maybe inundated with seeing it on social media. We've done a really good job with our marketing team to promote it. Effectively, what we'd like to see through the RFP is details on your experience, a business proposal, kind of a business plan, run us through what you're seeing, and then we'll sit and meet with all proponents and select one. We hope to have it up and operational this summer.
Well, that is really exciting, and I look forward to visiting, of course. And my understanding is the 2-year pilot, and then with an option for another 2 years, right?
Correct. Yeah. That falls in line, consistent with all our other plans, and it's really to adjust and see how things are working, what's not working, and make it better.
Really exciting. Thanks so much for sharing about this, and hopefully maybe we've inspired someone today, Christopher, during the business lunch.
I'm very hopeful. I can't wait to see how the proposals come through.
That's great. Christopher Hetherington joining us today, Chief of Property Management, Leasing and Projects at the NCC, regarding that exciting proposal time to be in the heart of Gatineau Park's Chelsea sector, of course, at the Mackenzie King Estate. If you're a restaurateur, if you're somebody that is into catering, they're looking for all sorts of interesting proposals. So maybe we have inspired you today. We wanted to spend some time as well today with Franco Terrazzano. He is for the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, Federal Director. We'll be talking to him about alcohol. And then we're going to talk to Mark Plant, of course, from Stray Dog Brewery, all about beer. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, I show you how to fill your freezer with 8 different meals for the next time you're in a pinch.
On Friday's Daytime Ottawa, we'll introduce you to publicist and author Charles Mwewa and talk about his collection of books. We'll also tell you about Le Chemin de Outaouais. It is a really exciting thing, and you're going to want to tune in to hear that. And the Spring Festival, the Sugar Festival, is back again this year. It took a hiatus for 4 years, but we're going to talk everything sweet, all that and more on Friday's Daytime Ottawa.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
There we go.
Hey, going back in, okay?
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Comes the 67. They score! How's that for your first of the season? Another highlight reel goal. Perfect placement there on the one-time. What a play! Steps one, scores!
He is making a statement, isn't he?
Oh, that's a beauty of a shot from the freshman.
The OHL playoffs.
What a goal!
On Rogers TV.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, it's certainly going to not be a laughing matter on April the 1st in terms of a potential increase to the price of alcohol. We wanted to speak to Franco Terrazzano today, Canadian Taxpayer Federation Federal Director. Walk us through this issue, Franco. We know that there's a proposal for some hikes when it comes to alcohol starting April the 1st.
Yeah, so essentially it's the federal alcohol excise tax is going to be going up with the rate of inflation by 6.3% on April 1 if it is not stopped in the budget next week. So that's obviously what we're pushing for right now. We're calling on the Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, to not raise alcohol taxes because for a number of reasons. Number one, you're already paying about half of the price of a beer in tax already. Number two, so many people are struggling right now. The last thing they need after a long day at work, a long week of work, is to be paying more tax when they want to enjoy a bottle of wine or maybe a rum and Coke or even just a nice IPA. And number three, the big issue here is that they are raising taxes without even having a single vote in the House of Commons. That's undemocratic, and we think it's fundamentally wrong.
So give me a sense of where MPs stand on this issue then.
Well, you know, MPs are overwhelmingly against it. There was a non-binding motion that was brought forward by the Conservatives, Mr. Pierre Poilievre, but then also Singh Helen, the finance critic. I know he's been working hard to bring that forward. They brought forward this mission to end the alcohol tax hike, and the motion passed. It was, even though it was sponsored by the Conservative Party, it received essentially unanimous support from both the New Democrats and also the Bloc. So MPs overwhelmingly voted to show that they are against this tax hike. So we're hoping that Ms. Freeland listens to the MPs, listens to Canadians, and cancels the tax hike in her budget.
And it's so interesting because when we think about all of the challenges Canadians are facing right now, we've certainly heard a lot of different ads here as well on City News talking about this issue. It just seemed to be a little bit salt in the wound, I think, Franco.
Margarita salt in the wound, hey?
There you go.
Yeah. If it all drives you to drink, too bad. Because the government's reaching just a little bit deeper into your pockets every time you enjoy the case of Keith's, the bottle of Pinot, or that rum and Coke. But you know, let me just go back to another, I think, real issue here, and it's the anti-democratic issue with this tax hike, right? Because there's a very important principle with democracy, and it's no taxation without representation. Now, one of the parts of that is that if a politician wants to raise taxes, increase the government's tax take, they should be forced to stand up in the House of Commons and vote. Right, but they're not doing that. This was first passed in the 2017 budget, and it automatically increased alcohol taxes every single year with the rate of inflation without a vote in the House of Commons. We think that's fundamentally wrong, and that's another reason why we oppose this tax hike.
Well, and to your point, and what we talk about all the time here, Franco, is the rate of inflation and how challenging that's been on Canadians, obviously.
Oh, totally. I mean, you go to the grocery store, and unfortunately, so many people who are working so hard are wondering: do you get the package of ground beef for taco night, or do you have to, or do you get the jug of milk? Right? People are making these decisions all the time. People are making these decisions all the time. People are worried that with the rising mortgage payments, that they might lose their homes. The last thing that people need after a stressful week is another tax hike on their alcohol. It's the last thing they need. And, you know, if you look back to 2017 when this alcohol tax escalator was first brought forward in the budget, and you compare the alcohol taxes where they're going to be after the April 1 tax hike, we're talking about an 18% tax increase over just a handful of years because of every single year the escalators raising the tax, right? So because of that, we're actually talking about quite a big tax increase since that 2017 budget.
Well, ironically, of course, I'm sure the wine will be flowing tonight at the presidential dinner, the big dinner because of Joe Biden being in town. How do you think Justin Trudeau will react to this tax at the end? Do you think it'll move forward?
Well, I really do hope that they cancel it. I really do hope. We have heard some Liberal MPs even speak out publicly on TV. I've seen that. I remember watching the news the other day and seeing a Liberal MP speak out against the alcohol tax hike. So we're really seeing that this is cross-party lines. They realize for one reason or another that the alcohol tax hike is wrong, for whether it's because it's increasing the cost of living when people are already struggling or because the anti-democratic nature of it. But we're seeing people from all party lines, including some Liberal MPs, including New Democrats, including the Bloc, and including the Conservatives who are against this. So I really do hope that Freeland listens to Canadians, but also listens to her fellow MPs and stops the tax hike in Tuesday's budget.
Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because we know that obviously Ontario is got a new budget proposed as well. Governments are trying to find the revenue sort of at every turn. This is one that I think Canadians tend to relate to. We think about Doug Ford and the buck of beer.
Yeah.
Back then, I think when you think about food and alcohol and those types of things, that tends to be what everybody can sort of relate to because it's at their table or in their hand while they're watching the movies.
Well, yeah, and let me just reiterate, right? You're paying so much tax already on alcohol. 50% of the price of beer, tax, 65% of the price of wine, tax, and more than 3/4 of the price of like your vodkas, your whiskeys, and rums is already taxed. So people are paying more than enough tax. They don't need to be paying a higher tax bill on April 1 at a time when people are struggling. And let's not forget, right, folks, that April 1 tax hikes also include another carbon tax increase. So it's not just the alcohol tax hike. You're also going to see a carbon tax increase. So the price of gasoline will be going up, the price of diesel, the price of natural gas, right, your heating bill. And then also on April 1, while the government takes more money from our pockets, you're going to see members of Parliament give themselves their fourth raise since the beginning of the pandemic. So April 1, I guess the joke is going to be on taxpayers this year.
Well, it certainly would drive you to drink, wouldn't it, Franco?
Yep, I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Couldn't resist, my friend. Franco, thanks so much for your time today. Franco Terrazzano joining us from the Canadian Taxpayer Federation, federal director, talking about that alcohol tax increase. And, of course, a guy that knows this all too well, Mark Plant from Stray Dog Brewery, joins me now. Hi, Mark.
Oh, hello, Sam. How are you?
Fantastic. You've come away from brewing right now to have a conversation with us. How busy is it at Stray Dog these days?
You know what? We always try to maintain full tanks and a full tap room and a lot of events. So it's still business as usual for us. So we're busy all the time.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this alcohol tax increase and the impact it'll have on you, Mark, I understand there's kind of a fun event happening this weekend.
Yeah. So we've got a sold-out show tonight. We're bringing in this really amazing bluegrass band. We love to support local musicians, local artists, and they're out of Lanark, the Lanark area, and they're called Crooked Creek. So again, we got a full tap room of live music. And then, of course, our good pal Coriel is playing on Sunday as well. Mm-hmm. And on Saturday, we have a singles night that is a fundraiser to support the Siberian Malamute dog rescue.
How fun is that?
Yeah, well, you know what? Again, it's always about sort of giving back to the community and helping to support others who can use it. We're in that kind of unique position to do so, so we do what we can.
Absolutely. How heartbreaking is it to think that there's going to be an increase, on April Fool's Day, which of course is no joke?
Yeah, I mean, if it would be laughable if it just wasn't one more thing after another coming out of the pandemic. It just seems like I don't want to say it's another nail in the coffin, but it certainly is kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Because I would suspect, Mark, that when you would raise prices, I mean, you have a lot of loyal customers that come. I've obviously been there as well. You have a lot of loyal people. So they're going to notice an increase, right? I mean, I think before any businesses sort of say, okay, if we're charging $10 now, we're going to charge 11, that at the end of the day, they know that they're going to hear that from their customers. So you would take that quite seriously, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we take any price increase seriously. And this is one of those things that is really kind of forcing our hand at the end of the day. I mean, we're certainly going to try to do our best to mitigate the impact of any cost increase, but it's going to happen. It's just inevitable. From a manufacturer's point of view, we're kind of like the sort of the first line where those taxes will hit, but then it trickles down to from our suppliers to the hospitality industry, going out to a restaurant, having a beer or a glass of wine or a spirit. Those restaurants also are suffering, and they can't absorb those extra costs. And so eventually, at the end of the line, it's the consumers, the taxpayers, that are going to feel the pinch.
So if you were to put out an invitation to Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau and say, okay, you two, come to Stray Dog. I want to tell you what this means for someone like myself who's, really put myself out there in this business. I'm trying to employ people. I'm trying to give back to the community. I'm having local musicians in. I'm trying to be this hub for the community. But you invite Chrystia and Justin in, and you pour them a beer. What would you say to them?
You know what? Small businesses are the backbone of any community. I think we've seen that in the past, and we certainly noticed that in the pandemic, just how important small businesses are and how affected they can be by even just the smallest, negative anything, whether it's a pandemic or a tax hike or whatever the case may be. And so, anybody coming into our business, what we're doing is we're employing local. We're trying to buy supplies as locally as possible. We're putting money back into the community that we live in and that we work in. And so really, it's just one of those things where we want politicians to realize this is above politics now. This is really about, and even beyond survival, it's really about trying to keep small businesses sustainable and viable in our community.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they would hear that message, Mark? Do you have any faith, any hope?
I am an optimist by nature. I'm a beer glass half full kind of guy. And so I really do hope that people are listening. I'm really hoping that our politicians are listening. I mean, we saw from the recent vote that MPs are in the majority of either reforming the tax or at least freezing this tax hike at the moment. And so really, if they're representing the people, the consumers, I really hope that that the Liberals are listening, because this is really important. I mean, if it's not just this tax, it's going to be something else down the road. And there's only so much that small businesses can absorb before you start losing them.
So we know Stray Dog has lots of unique beers. So if you were pouring one for Chrystia Freeland, what are you serving Chrystia?
Oh, you know what? I would be pouring her our latest release. It's a nice West Coast IPA, nice and clear, very crisp, hoppy up front, and you know what? It makes you feel good. Okay. And that feeling, we want everybody to enjoy it.
Fantastic.
So that's the first thing I'd be pouring her for sure.
And I know you had a special beer named was very humorous after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sort of had a slip of the tongue regarding the COVID. But what would you be serving him? Do you have any speaking moistly left?
We don't have any Moistly Mosaic beer left.
Right.
But you know what? After a few beers, I'm sure anybody would be speaking a little moistly, and the Prime Minister would be no different.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you've got lots of different pressures on you in a day, and sharing your perspective is really appreciated. And it's so hard. I mean, I hear the emotion even in your voice and what this does to small businesses.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, we really appreciate the support that you've given us and the community at large, and I just encourage everybody out there to don't stop supporting small businesses. You know, these are real people behind those desks and behind computers, and just making things work to make sure that everybody can feed their families and get through the day. So.
Absolutely. Mark Plante, we hope there's a love connection made at the singles event on Saturday. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, not for me personally.
No.
Good.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, I mean, love for animals and love for singles. It's another unique experience for people to enjoy in our tap room.
That's fantastic. Mark Plante from Stray Dog Brewery joining us here on the OBJ Business Lunch, which we appreciate very much. It has been a very busy news week. Of course, President Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden arrived in the Capitol yesterday around 6 o'clock. We know that he's set to speak at Parliament today. We're going to be following very closely in terms of that. Our news team is working very hard to bring you all of the news of the afternoon. Filled in this week for a couple days for David Smith. He's going to be back in the big chair for the Talk Back Hour this week. Had a chance to hang out a little bit with my colleague Rob Snow as well. Jump on the air with him this week. That's been an honor to all of our producers, of course, Noah and Aaron and Kobe, for doing a great job this week. We appreciate it very much. But make no mistake about it. We can't do anything at City News without you. Lock it in to City News.
You've been listening to the Sam Laprade Show.
Tune in again for local news and community views on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.